Chapter 420. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi could not understand why the Skywalker would imprison the witch clan, and could not help but fall into silence. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian were also not clear about the matter of the Skywalker, so they were confused. Seeing that the two of them were silent, the 100 Transformation Star Lord continued. Back then the only Skywalker was Chiyu, so the witch clan must have been imprisoned by Chiyu. What Chiyu? He's a Skywalker? Tang Zheng's expression changed as he exclaimed loudly. This was the second Skywalker he had heard of. Tian Chanzi could not help but look at Tang Zheng. Chiyu was an existence that was close to a god in the ancient era, but he was actually a Skywalker. Could it be that Tang Zheng, a Skywalker, could also reach that level in the future? Tian Chanzi could not help but be fascinated. However, Tang Zheng's emotions were even more complicated. The identity of a Skywalker was closely related to him, and he had always wanted to understand what was so special about this identity. But now, he actually heard that the supreme expert from the ancient times was also a Skywalker. How could he not have mixed feelings? Tang Zheng slightly restrained his emotions and said, "Impossible, didn't Chiyu die in the Battle of Zhuolu? How can he imprison the witch clan?" The witch clan was obviously imprisoned after the Battle of Zhuolu. At that time, Chiyu should have already died. How could it be that easy to kill Chiyu? Even if he only has one breath left, he can still do many things such as imprison the witch clan? As for why he did this, I am not sure. The 100 Transformation Star Lord frowned, obviously unable to understand Chiyu's actions. Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan looked at each other. Both of them knew that the witch clan was a branch of the Nine Li race, and back then they had followed Chiyu to the north and south, and could be considered as Chiyu's loyal troops. Why would Chiyu imprison the witch clan before? Although I don't know why Chiyu did this, there must be a deep meaning behind his actions. You will definitely understand in the future. However, Chiyu probably never thought that his own witch clan would treat you as some lord emissary. What a joke. The 100 Transformation Star Lord said disdainfully. With that said, the 100 Transformation Star Lord suddenly looked into the distance, his eyebrows raised as he said with a smile that was not a smile, "Interesting, this Buzhou mountain that has been silent for so many years, but all of a sudden, there are so many people who have come all of a sudden, it's getting more and more and more." Hearing this, everyone hurriedly turned their heads to look into the distance. They didn't see anyone at all, but everyone knew that 100 Change Star Lord wouldn't speak without thinking. Someone must have also gone up Mount Buzhou and broken through the layer of restriction outside. Who could these people be? Tang Zheng and the others looked at each other. In the end, Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian shouted in unison, "It's the demon god and the others." Tian Chanzi was slightly surprised. He had wanted to find the demon god and see if there was a way to let the cultivators return. He did not expect that these people would also come to Buzhou Mountain. Hearing this name, the 100 Transformation Star Lord said disdainfully, "What kind of person dares to call himself God? Ridiculous." The demon god is a member of the Devil clan, a descendant of the Jiuli clan. Tang Zheng introduced. The 100 Transformation Star Lord curled his lips and said, "The Jiuli clan is really getting worse and worse. How dare they call themselves God?" Sure enough, with the death of Chiyu, the Jiuli clan fell apart. Moreover, they are sneakily hiding in the distance, not daring to show themselves. Even after coming to Buzhou Mountain, they still want to shrink their heads. What wishful thinking. Come out. The 100 Transformation Star Lord roared and grabbed at the void with his small hand. The chi between heaven and earth instantly became chaotic. The demon god and Lewis had sacrificed Sawada Ichiro's life to break the restriction and reach this place. Then they heard the earth-shattering sounds of battle, so they were attracted here. Originally, they were prepared to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, but they were discovered as soon as they got close. Then they found that the scene in front of them changed rapidly. Then, the two of them appeared in a dilapidated courtyard. What's going on? The demon god cried out in panic. You are that demon god, right? You think that I can't do anything to you just because you are sneakily hiding in the distance? In this world, you can't escape from my heaven and earth in the palm. The 100 Transformation Star Lord said confidently. Heaven and earth in the palm? What kind of magic is this? The demon god's face was pale. His eyes finally focused on the 100 Transformation Star Lord. He could not help but be a little absent-minded. The other party was obviously a child, but why did he give people such a strange feeling? He could not help but feel a trace of fear. You are not qualified to know. It seems that you two are in the same group. We are not in the same group. We are enemies. Tang Zheng corrected. Oh, interesting. The descendants of the Sorcerer tribe and the Nine Li tribe have become enemies. Haha, if Chiyu knew about this, he would probably crawl out of his grave in anger. The 100 Transformation Star Lord laughed loudly. Presumptuous. Our demon ancestor, Chiyu, is not someone you can talk about. The demon god heard this and shouted angrily with a strong sense of righteousness. Obviously, the demon god had just come close to this place, so he did not know about the conversation just now. He also did not know how powerful the 100 Transformation Star Lord was. Why can't I talk about Chiyu? Even if Chiyu stood in front of me back then, I would still say the same thing. How can an insignificant descendant of the Nine Li tribe like you have the right to talk about him? You reckless fool. The 100 Transformation Star Lord said angrily. I think you are the one who is reckless. The demon god was used to being high and mighty. He immediately exploded when he was looked down upon. The expressions of Tang Zheng and the rest changed slightly. They felt sorry for the demon god. People like him who did not understand the situation would die a horrible death. As expected, the 100 Transformation Star Monarch flew into a rage upon hearing those words. Then I'll get rid of you first. With a wave of his hand, the ground under the demon god's feet suddenly collapsed and turned into a small pool. A huge whirlpool appeared and the demon god was instantly sucked into the whirlpool. It seemed like he was going to be sucked into the ground soon. Lewis was shocked and quickly dodged to the side. He escaped and looked at the scene in panic. The demon god resisted with all his might. He slashed down with the demon dragon saber in his hand. He wanted to use the rebound force to break free from the whirlpool, but he found that it was useless. He could not help but be shocked and terrified. He shouted, "Let me go quickly." Humph, it is useless to beg. The 100 Transformation Star Lord was unmoved. Lewis looked at the 100 Faces Star Lord in horror. How could this childlike person possess such terrifying strength with just a wave of his hand? Tang Zheng and the rest were not surprised. They just did not expect the previously arrogant demon god to die like this. However, this way, the vicious blood mountain and river array could not be activated. There would not be tens of thousands of people sacrificing their lives. Therefore, Tang Zheng was happy to see this happen. Stop. Suddenly, Tian Chanzi roared. The sword light flashed and pierced the whirlpool. With a sudden twist, the whirlpool shook violently. Tang Zheng was shocked. He quickly asked, Tian Chanzi, what are you doing? The demon god cannot die. Tian Chanzi said loudly. At this moment, the whirlpool's attack was disrupted. The demon god took advantage of the chaos to soar into the sky and escape from the whirlpool. The 100 Transformation Star Lord saw this and frowned. He said unhappily, "You are ruining my plans again. Then, none of you can think of leaving here today." Heaven Monk remained unmoved and said, "The demon god came back from the heavens beyond. He is the clearest about the situation in the heavens beyond. If we kill him, we won't be able to find out about the situation in the heavens beyond." The 100 Transformation Star Lord looked at the demon god in surprise. He said, "You came back from the sky beyond?" "Yes." The demon god's voice was trembling. He was frightened by the 100 Transformation Star Lord's divine ability. He did not dare to be arrogant before he figured out the other party's background. "Very good. Then tell us what it is like in the sky beyond?" The 100 Transformation Star Lord asked impatiently. The demon god looked at them suspiciously. He did not understand why they were so interested in the sky beyond. When he hesitated, the 100 Transformation Star Lord's face changed again. He said eerily, "You don't want to talk, right? Then I have many ways to make you talk." The demonic god was shocked and quickly said, I'll tell you right away. The heavens beyond heaven is a very mysterious place. Although the spiritual energy is abundant, it is very dangerous. There are huge hidden dangers. If you are not careful, you will lose your life. The 100 Transformation Star Lord laughed. Haha, I already said that the sky beyond is not a good place. Now I am finally right. It is a dangerous place. I did so much in the past, but those people did not appreciate it. Ridiculous. The demon god looked at the 100 Transformation Star Lord blankly. He did not understand what he meant. Senior, how did you know about the sky beyond? The demon god asked carefully. Of course I know. The 100 Transformation Star Lord smiled mysteriously. Seeing that the sky beyond was confirmed, Tian Chanzi's heart skipped a beat. He interrupted and asked, what happened to the cultivators who were expelled to the sky beyond? Most of them died. Died. Tian Chanzi's face changed suddenly. He looked like he was in pain. The 100 Transformation Star Lord snorted and said, what's so strange about them dying? It would be strange if they did not die in such a dangerous place. Tian Chanzi turned a deaf ear and continued to ask, What happened to Kingsaman? Kingsaman? Almost all of them are dead. Back then the distinct void sect was still a big sect. However, their luck wasn't very good. After entering the sky beyond heaven, they encountered several great calamities. They suffered countless casualties and were on the verge of collapse. They could completely disappear at any time. The demon god said expressionlessly. You're talking nonsense. Tian Chanzi suddenly shouted crazily. His face was ferocious. Kingsaman will not disappear. Kingsaman will rise again. Kingsaman was Tian Chanzi's sect. He had deep feelings for it. Tang Jing looked at Tian Chanzi in surprise. He had never seen him lose control of his emotions like this. It seemed that his feelings for his sect were not ordinary. Could it be that you are from the distinct void sect? The demon god was also surprised by the person who had just saved his life. He could feel that this person's cultivation was not ordinary. Moreover, he had seen Tang Jing use the sword technique of flying deities from heaven. Naturally, he could think of this. Of course I am. I am Tian Chanzi. You are Tian Chanzi? The demon god's eyes widened. He could not help but exclaim, "You." Chapter 421. The demon god stared at Tian Chanzi with his mouth agape. Didn't you die 1,000 years ago? Tian Chanzi curled his lips and said, I won't die so easily. That's right. You are the genius of Kingsaman after all. Although you were expelled from the sect, your strength is not to be underestimated. The demon god sighed. Tang Jing looked at Tian Chanzi in surprise and said, You are a genius? What? Can I be? Tian Chanzi raised his neck proudly. He had never told Tang Jing about this. Now that he was exposed, he could not help but feel sad when he thought of his glorious days 1,000 years ago. All his glory had gone with the wind. Of course. It seems that I can't always tease you in the future. Tang Jing laughed. The demon god looked at Tang Jing and Tian Chanzi's intimate conversation and thought, Legend has it that Tang Jing has a mysterious master who can also use the sword art of flying fairies from outer space. Could this master be Tian Chanzi? The demon god was shocked. Although he did not know what cultivation level Tian Chanzi had in the past, there was no doubt that he was stronger than him. Therefore, he could not help but feel uneasy when he became the enemy of Tian Chanzi's disciple. Tian Chanzi did not pay attention to the demon god's anxiety. He looked a little absent-minded and muttered to himself, Why did Kingsaman become so weak? There are so many talents in the sect. Could it be that they still could not resist the inexplicable danger in the outer space? Do you really think that the danger in the outer space is so simple? We have spent so many years and still have not fully explored the outer space. The outer space is vaster than this world. It seems to be boundless. Moreover, there are indigenous races in the outer space. These indigenous races are much stronger than us. If we did not resist them for so many years, we would have been uprooted. The demon god said bitterly. Indigenous races? Everyone's attention was immediately attracted. The 100 Faces Star Sovereign also opened his eyes wide and looked at him curiously. That's right, the outer sky is not without inhabitants. These natives are all residents of the outer sky. They're very powerful, and there's no lack of grand ascension stage beings among them. Among us who were banished, the most powerful ones were only at the soul formation stage. During one conflict after another, we suffered greatly. Many sects were even wiped out and disappeared from the face of the world. The demon god's expression changed slightly. He couldn't help but feel a sense of lingering fear as he spoke of the situation in the outer sky. When the 100 Change Star Sovereign heard this, he chuckled and said, You asked for it. Tian Chanzi gritted his teeth and said, I have to save the people of my sect from the realm beyond heaven as soon as possible. It's not that easy to rescue someone from heavens beyond, Demon God said. Humph. Tian Chanzi snorted disapprovingly and said, You can't wait to bring back the demon race's people. Isn't it because you want the demon race to escape this calamity? You have a way, but I don't necessarily have no other way. Aha, Tian Chanzi was a genius back in the day. You might have a way, but you don't even have contact with Kingsaman in the outer sky. I'm afraid it won't be that easy to bring people from Kingsaman out. Demon God gradually recovered his arrogance and said, Tian Chanzi, I am never afraid of difficulties. Tian Chanzi said as he glanced at Tang Jing. In fact, his idea was to find the foundation of the stairway to heaven and rebuild it. This was the safest way. What other strange things are there in the outer sky? Tell me all of them and I'll send you to the gates of hell. The 100 Change Star Sovereign urged the demon god. The demon god was shocked and subconsciously took a step back, saying, If you want to know the situation in the sky beyond, wait until you have the ability to go to the sky beyond. Don't think you can get any useful information from me? Is that so? In that case there's no need to keep you alive. Go to hell. The 100 Change Star Sovereign shouted. Demon God's face suddenly changed and he hurriedly shouted, Tian Chanzi, if I want to know more about Kingsaman, work with me to defeat this person. Otherwise you'll never know. Demon God was not stupid. He immediately wanted to work with Tian Chanzi to resist the 100 Change Star Sovereign. Tian Chanzi hesitated, but Tang Jing stepped forward and said, Demon God, if you don't want to say it, no one will force you to say it. Since you don't want to say it, then take this information to the gates of hell. Then he turned to Tian Chanzi and advised, Tian Chanzi, we can't stay here for long. Otherwise, if the 100 Change Star Sovereign is free, it will be difficult for us to leave. Tian Chanzi's heart trembled, but he reluctantly said, I really want to know about the sect. Tang Jing's face flushed red as if a flame was about to ignite. He took a deep breath and said, I can't control my pure yang energy anymore. It can explode at any time and it will be too late to leave then. Tian Chanzi was shocked and complained, Why didn't you say so earlier? Since that's the case, then why are we still here talking nonsense with them? In Tian Chanzi's heart, Tang Jing's safety was naturally more important than the news of his sect. Now Tian Chanzi felt more and more that Tang Jing was a treasure, and could not allow him to make the slightest mistake. Then let's go. Tang Jing said in a low voice. Let's go, I'll cover the rear. With Tang Jing's order, Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian regained their senses as if they had just woken up from a dream, and immediately ran away. The two of them had heard so many shocking secrets, and their hearts were already in turmoil. However, at this moment, protecting their lives was more important. Xiao Bai and the Thundercloud Beast were also very fast. Although the two little fellows looked dispirited, their speed was not slow, and with a sound they rushed out of the courtyard. Everyone's speed was very fast, and they left the courtyard amidst the rumbling footsteps of the four symbols venerables. Seeing that, the 100 Transformation Star Lord was furious, but there was a demon god in front of him, so he had no time to care about them. The attacks suddenly intensified. The demonic god was truly suffering. His strength was originally not as good as the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign. Moreover, the more he fought, the more uncertain he became. His heart was in turmoil. He wondered why this person was so strong. Seeing Tang Jing and the others walking further and further away, the demon god's heart was in a mess. He wanted to escape, but there was nowhere to run. Suddenly, from the corner of his eyes, he saw another figure rushing out of the courtyard, and could not help but fly into a rage, shouting loudly, Louis, you actually dare to escape. Louis had indeed escaped. Louis was a smart person and was good at judging the situation. Although he did not understand the origins of the 100 Transformation Star Lord, he knew very well that staying behind would be courting death, so he did not care about the demon god's anger and escaped. The demon god could only stare helplessly, but he still had some tricks up his sleeve. Furthermore, he had the magic dragon blade, so he used all of his skills and slashed down with his blade. A dragon's roar came out from the blade. The demon god was overjoyed. This was the true essence of the magic dragon blade. The magic dragon blade imprisoned the dragon soul of a young dragon, so after the dragon soul was activated, its power increased greatly. The 100 Transformation Star Lord frowned and said, The magic dragon blade, humph, I didn't expect it to fall into your hands. Fine, I'll trap you first, and when I catch up with those people I'll come back and finish you off. The 100 Transformation Star Lord gently pointed his finger, and a stream of water fell from the sky, drenching the demon god. The demon god quickly dodged, but there was nowhere to hide as there was rain above his head. Freeze! The 100 Transformation Star Lord shouted, and the water on the demon god's body immediately turned into ice. In an instant, the demon god became an ice pillar, unable to move. The demon god's eyes widened, but he was still holding the magic dragon blade in his hand. However, he did not die but was sealed in ice, temporarily unable to move. The 100 Transformation Star Lord patted the demon god's cheek through the ice and said, Wait here for a while, I'll be back soon, hee hee. The demon god's eyes rolled around and he was extremely flustered, but there was nothing he could do. He could only watch as the 100 Transformation Star Lord quickly disappeared from his sight. Tang Jing and the others finally rushed in front of the restriction, but at this time they heard a roar from afar, Stop right there. Of course they would not stop. Tang Jing quickly cast a spell to break open the restriction, and then rushed out. At this time, Louis also rushed over, and seeing that the restriction was about to be restored, he quickly increased his speed and rushed out of danger. The few of them entered the world of white snow again, and the cold wind blew, causing them to involuntarily shiver. The inside and outside of the restriction were two completely different worlds, which made them feel a little dazed. Tang Zheng and the others immediately looked at Louis, who was alone. Louis's expression changed greatly, and he immediately transformed, flapped his wings and soared into the sky. However, he did not dare to fly up and instead flew to the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain was obviously an illusion array, and there was no way to reach the top of the mountain. However, Louis did not care so much. As long as he was far away from Tang Zheng and the others, he could temporarily save his life. Tang Zheng did not intend to pursue. The most important thing was to escape from the 100 Transformations Star-Lord's pursuit. Louis was just a minor detail and was not worth mentioning. Therefore, the few of them rushed to the foot of the mountain. The three of them were very fast, but from afar they heard a rumbling sound coming from the restriction. The few of them guessed that the 100 Transformation Star-Lord must be attacking the restriction. This restriction was specially designed to imprison him, so the effect on him was definitely stronger than the others. Tang Zheng could easily rush out, but it might not be so easy for the 100 Transformation Star-Lord. The few of them heaved a sigh of relief. At the very least, the 100 Transformation Star-Lord was temporarily blocked. However, the 100 Transformation Star-Lord was previously very confident, which meant that the restriction might not be able to truly stop him, so it was best to escape as far as possible. Moments later, the few of them finally escaped to the foot of the mountain. Tang Zheng turned his head to take a look, but he could no longer see the restriction on the mountain, and Louis had also disappeared. Before he could rejoice, a rumbling explosion suddenly came from his body. His qi and blood surged and pure yang energy erupted. He tasted something sweet in his mouth and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were wide open and his gaze became dull. He could not breathe and his eyes rolled back as he fell straight to the ground. Bam! He fell heavily into the snow, and the others hurriedly stopped and cried out in alarm. Q. Chapter 422. The few of them hurriedly helped Tang Zheng up and shouted, "Tang Zheng, what happened to you?" But Tang Zheng's eyes were tightly shut, he was unconscious and did not answer them at all. Furthermore, his face was flushed red, like a red-hot iron plate. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian looked at him blankly, not knowing why he suddenly became like this. Tian Chanzi's heart fell to the bottom and shouted, "His pure yang energy has exploded, his life is in danger." "Then what should we do?" "Senior, you must save Lord Envoy." Yi Yuan pleaded in panic. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, was in a daze. That high and mighty Tang Zheng would actually become like this was truly beyond her expectations. "Of course I will save him." Tian Chanzi's gaze turned cold, and suddenly landed on Li Xiaotian's body. In this desolate wilderness, there was no pure yin energy to neutralize Tang Zheng's pure yang energy, so his only hope was on Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian was being stared at by Tian Chanzi, and from his gaze he sensed something strange and immediately asked, "Senior, why are you looking at me?" "Right now the only person who can save him is you," Tian Chanzi said in a deep voice. "Me?" Li Xiaotian pointed at his nose blankly. "I'm not a doctor, how can I save him?" Tian Chanzi explained, "If the pure yang energy in his body explodes, his body will explode and he will die. Only the pure yin energy in your body can reconcile this pure yang energy." "Pure yin energy reconcile?" Li Xiaotian was very confused by these words. "Yes, if you hand him over he can be saved," Tian Chanzi said bluntly. "What? Hand him over?" Li Xiaotian was so scared that she took a step back. She was really shocked by the news. Could doing that kind of thing save people? "Why would I lie to you at this time?" Tian Chanzi said resolutely. Li Xiaotian glanced at the unconscious Tang Zheng and couldn't help but bite her lip. She had never thought that she would have any sort of intimate relationship with Tang Zheng. As the holy maiden of the Li Palace, she had never even thought about having any sort of intimate relationship with any man. This was because the Li Palace hated men the most. None of the disciples were allowed to have any sort of emotional or physical entanglement with any man. Otherwise, it would be a violation of the sect's rules and they would be expelled from the Li Palace. Li Xiaotian shook his head almost without thinking. "No, I can't do that." Tian Chanzi snorted coldly and said, "That's not up to you." "You, what are you going to do?" Li Xiaotian panicked and kept retreating. "I know you are the holy maiden of the Li Palace. If anything happens to Tang Zheng today, then I guarantee that the Li Palace will disappear from this world," Tian Chanzi said with a murderous aura. For the sake of Tang Zheng's life, Tian Chanzi would do anything. Moreover, he was not a benevolent dog in the first place. The cultivation world was a world where the strong preyed on the weak, and none of the experts in this world were good people. Hearing this, Li Xiaoyan's mind trembled and he hurriedly shook his head. No, I won't agree to it. If that's not up to you, Tian Chanzi said coldly. Just as he was about to make a move, he heard a loud rumbling sound coming from the mountain, and saw the air fluctuating violently. Crap, the 100 Transformation Star Lord is about to break through the restrictions. Let's go. Tian Chanzi shouted, hugging Tang Zheng. He shot out like an arrow. The three of them quickly rushed to the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. I can't go any further. The thundercloud beast suddenly stopped and shouted. Why can't you leave? If we continue to delay, we will be caught up by the 100 Transformation Star Lord. Tian Chanzi asked coldly. I'm not leaving. This prehistoric heavenly tomb has an invisible restriction on many creatures in the heavenly tomb. If they were to rush out of this area, they would immediately die. The thundercloud beast said in fear. Li Xiaotian suddenly remembered that the last time the thundercloud beast chased after him and Tang Zheng to the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb, it was forced to stop, allowing them to luckily escape a calamity. This meant that the thundercloud beast was one of the creatures that were restricted. He was definitely afraid of this restriction, so he did not chase after them. He was not lying. Hearing Li Xiaoyan's explanation, Tian Chanzi's heart trembled. This prehistoric heavenly tomb was too mysterious, and there were many things that he could not explain. Then you stay here. We'll leave first. Tian Chanzi would not delay for a single thundercloud beast, and immediately rushed out. Zhi. However, Xiaobai stretched out his claws and grabbed onto the thundercloud beast and shouted angrily. The thundercloud beast seemed to understand its words, but it cowered as it looked at the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Without a doubt, Xiaobai was asking the thundercloud beast to go out with him. However, the thundercloud beast had an instinctive fear of that invisible restriction, causing it to stop in its tracks. Xiaobai, don't delay anymore. If it doesn't leave, we can't do anything about it, Tian Chanzi advised. Xiaobai stubbornly raised his neck and refused to let go, dragging the thundercloud beast out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The thundercloud beast had a panicked expression as it was dragged forward step by step. Its small eyes were even uglier than crying, but it did not dare to resist. This scene was extremely comical. Boom! A loud sound came from behind them. The ground trembled violently as if a huge earthquake had occurred. Judging from the sound, it came from the direction of the Buzhou mountain. Everyone was shocked and turned their heads to look. However, they were too far away and could not see clearly, but almost everyone guessed that the 100 Transformation Star Lord had broken through the restriction. It seemed that what the 100 Transformation Star Lord had said was true. If he had not been willing to be imprisoned here, the restriction would not have been able to stop him. Stop dawdling, let's go. Tian Chanzi threw Tang Zheng onto the heaven horse's body, patted the heaven horse's butt, and shouted, let's go, as he rushed out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. When the group of demonic beasts that had gathered outside the prehistoric heavenly tomb heard the earth-shaking sound, they immediately scattered like birds and beasts, crazily running out of the forbidden grounds. Everyone was stunned for a moment. This time they did not need to fight with the group of demonic beasts and saved a bit of time. And at this moment, Xiaobai finally pulled the thundercloud beast out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The thundercloud beast's originally ashen face immediately glowed as it looked at him in disbelief. I'm not dead. I'm finally out. I'm actually safe and sound. The thundercloud beast cheered. For so many years, he had been bound by that instinctive fear and did not dare to take even half a step out of the lightning pool. At this moment it had finally escaped, but it was confused. It did not know why things had turned out like this. Coincidentally, the ground was shaking more and more violently. It was truly an earthquake, and the prehistoric heavenly tomb was rapidly collapsing. The cold wind was miserable and there were countless roars and roars. Suddenly countless rays of light shot up into the sky. The few of them couldn't help but stop in their tracks and turn their heads to look. Tian Chanzi's expression suddenly changed as he shouted, the magic treasure has appeared, and it's not just one or two, but countless magic treasure have appeared. These magic treasures were of different grades, and were all magic treasures that were buried in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. In this earthquake-like commotion, these magic treasures were shaken out, soaring into the sky and shooting in all directions. Other than the magic treasure, there are other living beings. Tian Chanzi's gaze turned cold as he stared at the other figures that had soared into the air. These figures were either big or small, and among them were demonic beasts and generals. These creatures that were originally bound in the prehistoric heavenly tomb had clearly broken free from their restraints and escaped without a trace. The 100 Transformation Star Lord broke through the restrictions on Mount Buzhou, which is equivalent to breaking through the restrictions on prehistoric heavenly tomb. That's why these creatures and magic treasure can see the light of day again, Tian Chanzi said in realization. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, had an ugly expression on his face. Many of the creatures in the prehistoric heavenly tomb had powerful strength, and had escaped the calamity 300 years ago. These creatures had completely appeared in the world, and he did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse to the outside world. Hurry up, let's leave this place before the 100 Transformation Star Lord catches up, Tian Chanzi shouted and immediately rushed out of the forbidden grounds. The others were unwilling to fall behind and increased their speed. In front of them were demonic beasts that were fleeing in all directions. These demonic beasts seemed to have been shocked, and rushed out of the forbidden grounds in a panic. They even rushed out of the black stone tablet at the entrance of the forbidden grounds, and disappeared into the vast forest. When the few of them arrived in front of the stone tablet, a furious roar came from behind them. Stop right there. The 100 Transformation Star Lord had actually caught up. Tian Chanzi immediately stopped in his tracks and shouted, "You guys hurry up and leave, I'll stop him. Li Xiaodan, you must save Tang Zheng or else I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Li Xiaoyan's heart trembled. He turned his head to look at Tian Chanzi, who had already turned around and rushed towards the 100 Transformation Star Lord, then clenched his teeth and rushed into the forest with his fastest speed. Yi Yuan protected the heaven horse, carried Tang Zheng, and then rushed into the forest with the other two little fellows. However, before they could go too far, they heard the sounds of intense fighting coming from behind them, shaking the heavens and earth. The few of them were trembling in fear, but they did not dare to stay any longer. They did not want to waste this rare opportunity to escape. It was unknown how far they had fled, but they could no longer hear the sounds of fighting in the distance. In the end, with a bang, Tang Zheng fell from the horse's back, and the few of them stopped in their tracks. Yi Yuan immediately helped Tang Zheng up, but a sizzling sound came from his hands and white smoke rose up. It was obvious that Tang Zheng's skin was too hot, and his entire body was about to burn up. Li Xiaotian also stopped, and looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with a complicated gaze. "Li Xiaodan, I beg you to quickly save our Lord Envoy," Yi Yuan pleaded in panic. Li Xiaotian's face flushed red and said shyly, I can't save him. "I beg you, as long as you save Lord Envoy, Yi Yuan, will repay you even if I have to work like an ox or a horse." Yi Yuan immediately knelt down in front of Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian was shocked. He kept waving his hands and his head was shaking like a rattled drum, not letting go at all. "No. I really can't." Looking at Tang Zheng's tightly shut eyes and pained expression, her heart was in a mess. She never would have thought that she would fall into such a predicament. "Our Lord Envoy cannot die. I beg you, I will agree to any conditions you have. Go up the mountain of blades, go down the sea of fire, do not hesitate." Yi Yuan pleaded, unwilling to give up. Li Xiaotian still clenched his teeth and shook his head without thinking. "You." Chapter 423. Tang Zheng's life was hanging by a thread, and Yi Yuan was still weak, so it was impossible for him to force Li Xiaotian to do anything. The situation had reached a stalemate. Li Xiaotian looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. There were two voices arguing in her mind whether or not she should save Tang Zheng. If she did, then she would be betraying the Li Palace. If she did not save him, then Tian Chanzi would definitely not let Li Palace off in the future. She was in a dilemma. Suddenly, a few figures jumped out from the forest and rushed in front of them with lightning speed. Yi Yuan was shocked and immediately protected Tang Zheng as he looked at the people who came. But when he saw who it was, Yi Yuan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This person was actually from the martial sect. There were two people standing in front of him. One of them was the escaping marshal, and the other was a middle-aged man. When Yi Yuan faced this person, he couldn't help but feel a sense of insignificance. It was as if this person was a towering mountain, making it difficult for others to look at his back. Li Xiaotian also saw the other party, especially when he saw the middle-aged man. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Martial sect master." Yes, this middle-aged man was the martial sect master. He glanced at Li Xiaotian and nodded slightly. "I didn't expect the holy maiden of Li Palace to come here as well." Li Xiaotian's heart skipped a beat and said, "Li Xiaotian greets sect master." As he spoke, he cupped his hands and bowed. Why didn't your Li Palace Master come? The martial sect master asked. Asgard mistress is cultivating in seclusion. Oh, I haven't seen her in a long time. I wonder how her cultivation has progressed? The martial sect master asked curiously. Asgard mistress cultivation is unfathomable, I am unable to speak nonsense. Li Xiaotian said. The martial sect master grinned and said, when the matters here are settled, I will go and meet her. After saying that, his gaze turned and landed on Tang Zheng. His eyebrows furrowed as he asked in a deep voice, is it him? Wu said respectfully, yes. Hearing that, the martial sect leader walked towards Tang Zheng. Yi Yuan was shocked. Of course he knew that he was not a match for the other party, but he still shouted without a care for himself, stop! What are you doing? The martial sect leader's gaze turned cold, like a blade sweeping across, causing Yi Yuan to feel as if there was a blade on his back, but he still clenched his teeth, not giving in an inch. A mere cultivator dares to stop me. You're courting death. His tone was filled with a strong murderous intent, causing others to tremble in fear. If you want to hurt our Lord Envoy, then step over my corpse first. Yi Yuan roared fearlessly. Then I'll fulfill your wish. The sect leader of the martial sect was furious. He extended his arm and grabbed towards Yi Yuan. Immediately, Yi Yuan felt that he was completely enveloped by a terrifying power, and was unable to move at all. Xiao Bai, protect Lord Envoy. In a moment of desperation, Yi Yuan shouted loudly. With a squeak, Xiao Bai jumped in front of Tang Zheng and opened its mouth. A ball of flame soared into the sky and rushed towards the martial organization sect leader. The martial sect leader flashed to the side in surprise and dodged the attack. He looked at Xiao Bai with a serious expression and clicked his tongue. A demonic beast is truly interesting. Squeak squeak. Xiao Bai showed off his might and bared his teeth at the martial sect leader. Not long later, the thunder cloud beast also joined Xiao Bai's camp. The two little fellows closely guarded in front of Tang Zheng, not allowing the other party to get close. Sect leader, that Xiao Bai is not simple. Be careful. Marshal reminded. It's just two demonic beasts, what's there to be afraid of? However, why is this brat unconscious? Could it be that he is seriously injured? The martial sect leader asked doubtfully. Li Xiaotian explained, the pure yang energy in his body has exploded, he won't live for long. What, the pure yang energy exploded so early? The martial sect leader raised his thick eyebrows in astonishment. You also know about the pure yang energy? Li Xiaotian opened his eyes wide in shock. Not only Li Xiaotian, even Wu looked at his own sect leader in disbelief. However, the martial sect leader did not explain the reason behind it. He said in a deep voice, since he doesn't have long to live, then I have to obtain him even more. As soon as he finished speaking, the martial sect leader rushed over. Stop him. Yi Yuan turned pale with fright. Xiao Bai and the thunder cloud beast launched a counterattack at the same time. Flames and lightning struck out at the same time, and with a boom, the place where the martial sect leader was standing turned into scorched earth. However, the martial sect leader seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Suddenly Yi Yuan's heart trembled. He suddenly had an ominous premonition, and punched the air beside him. Bang! A palm met his fist, and Yi Yuan was like a kite with a broken string flying out. Tang Zheng fell limply into the hands of the martial sect leader. In that split second, the martial sect leader had actually deceived everyone's eyes and attention, passed through Xiao Bai and the thundercloud beast's attacks and controlled Tang Zheng. Then, in a flash, the martial sect leader had already grabbed Tang Zheng and retreated a few meters away. Xiao Bai and the thundercloud beast wanted to attack again, but they stared at Tang Zheng in the other party's hands, and did not dare to attack. Yi Yuan's eyes were about to split open as he shouted, why did you capture our Lord Envoy? The martial sect leader did not comment. He turned around and walked into the forest. Wu hurriedly followed. Stop, you are not allowed to take Lord Envoy away. Yi Yuan climbed up without caring about his own safety, and then chased after him without hesitation. Xiao Bai, the thundercloud beast, the heavenly horse and the four symbols venerable ones also hurriedly chased after them. However, without the control of Tang Zheng, the four symbols venerable ones could only advance instinctively, and their threat was greatly reduced. Li Xiaotian watched all of this with her mouth agape, not knowing what to do. Suddenly her heart stirred and she muttered to herself, Tang Zheng has fallen into the hands of the martial sect leader, I'm afraid that he will not be able to survive. If Tian Chanzi did not die in the hands of the Hundred Faces Star Lord, Then I wonder if he will vent his anger on me. No matter what, this 10,000 huge mountains is a place of trouble, it's not good to stay here for long. With that thought, Li Xiaotian did not delay any longer. He looked deeply in the direction that Tang Zheng had disappeared in, turned around and rushed in another direction. Yi Yuan and the others were very fast, but the martial sect leader was even faster. In the end, they could only watch as the other party disappeared into the dense forest, powerless to do anything. Yi Yuan sat on the ground dispiritedly as if he had lost his parents. He fiercely hammered the ground and said, "Yi Yuan, why are you so useless? You can't even protect Lord Envoy?" He regretted it for a long time and tears welled up in his eyes. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "I must go back and report this matter to the elders, and then we can discuss countermeasures." Tang Zheng was like a leaf, lightly held in the hands of the martial sect leader, who was moving forward in the dense forest as fast as lightning. After running for an unknown distance, the martial sect leader stopped in his tracks, and Wu also staggered to a stop. If not for the fact that the sect master had promoted her a few times at the critical moment, it would have been difficult for her to escape the pursuit. She took a deep breath and looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. To her, Tang Zheng was too strong, but the strange thing was that he had fallen into a coma just like that. What was going on with the so-called explosion of pure yang energy? She looked at the sect master blankly and asked, "Sect leader, what should we do now?" The martial sect leader stared at Tang Zheng without blinking, and only after a long while did he say, "Save him." Wu opened his mouth wide in shock and said, "Save him? Is he a cultivator, an enemy?" From beginning to end, Wu was unable to guess Tang Zheng's identity. Although he had already guessed that he would have some relationship with the martial sect, he did not know the details. The martial sect did not pay attention to her surprise. Instead, he took out a jade pendant from his collar. On it was a large martial character. When Wu saw the jade pendant again, he couldn't help but fall into silence. After a long while, he seemed to have come to a realization and said, "Sect leader, could it be that you want to save him and find out his relationship with the martial sect?" The sect master fell into silence once again. Wu frowned and said, "Then how can we save him? The eruption of pure yang energy, I have never heard of such a thing." The sect leader raised his head and his gaze fell on Wu. Looking at this gaze, Wu had a strange feeling and asked, "Sect leader, what's wrong?" "Wu, the only person who can save him is you," the sect leader said. "Meh." Wu pointed at the bridge of his nose at a loss. "My strength is not even comparable to his, how can I save him?" "If you want to save him, the only person who can do it is you, sect leader, right?" The sect leader shook his head and said firmly, "If I say it's you, it's you. Wu, do you know what kind of body you have?" Wu was even more confused as he shook his head in a daze. "Your body is a body of evil. Back then, I spent a lot of effort to find you. Do you still remember when you were young, you were weak and sickly?" the sect leader asked. Wu was confused, but he still nodded and said, "Of course I remember, but I don't know why, but my body got better and better, and I didn't get sick again. That's because you cultivate the roaring flame saber. The roaring flame saber is a martial art that is extremely young and strong. It just so happens to offset the evil yin energy in your body, which is why your physique is getting better and better," the sect leader said. Wu's eyes widened. This was beyond her expectations. For a long time she was speechless. After a long while, she asked with mixed feelings, "Sect leader, you said that you spent a lot of effort to find me. Why did you spend so much effort to find me?" Wu had more and more questions in her heart. Her mind was a mess and she had almost lost the ability to think. "Of course I have a use for you. Firstly, I can save your life, but the most important thing is to let you play your current role," the sect leader said in a deep voice. Wu suddenly realized, "You mean to save him? The reason you found me back then was so that you could save Tang Zheng one day?" The sect leader nodded without hesitation. Wu's heart was in turmoil as he stared blankly at the unconscious Tang Zheng. So his existence was all for him. Why was that? She had always thought that her existence was to exterminate cultivators, but in the end, her existence was to save a cultivator. It was simply sarcastic to her for the past 20 years. It was truly a joke. "Wu, time is of the essence. We can't delay any longer. You have to save him immediately," Wu urged impatiently. Chapter 424. Facing the sect master's urging, Marshall seemed to be petrified, but he quickly reacted and asked in confusion, "How do I save him?" Since this was the sect master's order, Marshall would naturally choose to carry it out. The sect master said without hesitation, "Hand him over." "What? Hand him over?" Marshall's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's right, this is also beneficial to you. Even though the baleful Yin energy in your body is temporarily under control because you have cultivated the roaring flame saber, but after a long time, this baleful Yin energy will still devour your body. Furthermore, you and Tang Zheng have exchanged He Qi, Yin and Yang are in harmony, so with the pure Yang energy in his body, he can completely neutralize your baleful Yin energy. This way you won't have to worry about the consequences." Marshall bit her lips. Although she was usually filled with killing intent, she was still a woman deep down. How could she not be shy in the face of such a thing? She did not give up and asked, "Could it be that there's no other way?" The sect master sighed and said, "If there was any other way, I wouldn't have let you do this." Marshall looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. The snow-white teeth that were biting her lips gradually loosened. She hesitated and said, "Then? All right." She had been living in the Marshall sect since she was young. The Marshall sect was her home, and the sect master was both her master and her father. Facing his orders, she could not bring herself to resist. This was because listening to the sect master's orders was a belief that was deeply engraved in her bones. "There's no time to lose. I'll go stand guard outside. Hurry up." After the sect master finished speaking, he turned around and disappeared. Marshall looked at Tang Zheng, who was lying in the grass, and her face involuntarily turned red. Although she was in her 20s, she was still inexperienced. Normally she would come into contact with many men, but she had never thought of that. Now that she was suddenly faced with such a difficult problem, she was at a loss. However, she was not an idiot. Of course she knew what to do. She took a deep breath and suppressed the shyness and restlessness in her heart. She squatted down and stared at Tang Zheng. She couldn't help but mutter to herself, "He doesn't seem to be ugly. In fact, he's a little handsome. My first time was with him." She didn't dare to think about it anymore. She had never thought about what her first time would be like. Now that she was faced with this question, her heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Seeing that Tang Zheng's face was getting redder and redder, she knew that she couldn't delay any longer, so she reached out her hand. Her skin was very good, delicate and white. Although she was tall, her frame wasn't big and her fingers were long and slender. When she touched Tang Zheng's clothes, she couldn't help but shrink back, and her breathing quickened. She patted her chest and secretly encouraged him, "Wu, do your best, this is nothing. But I used to be enemies with him and now I want to have skin contact with him. Isn't this change too fast?" Another voice sounded out. Indeed, the relationship between the two of them had never been harmonious. Moreover, Wu had found out that Tang Zheng was the culprit behind her amnesia. Just as she was feeling conflicted, Tang Zheng couldn't help but moan. A surge of energy rippled out from his body. Crap, could it be that his pure yang energy is about to completely erupt? No, I can't delay any longer. I have to hurry. Wu's eyes turned cold and he no longer hesitated. Tang Zheng's life was of great importance. He was inextricably linked to the Marshall sect, so he definitely couldn't let him die like this. Thus, she quickly took off Tang Zheng's clothes, revealing a broad and hard chest. This was the first time Wu had seen a man's naked body. Her cheeks couldn't help but turn red, like a ripe apple, extremely alluring. When she stripped Tang Zheng naked, her gaze couldn't help but be attracted to the lower half of his body. However, she quickly averted her gaze in embarrassment. She took a deep breath and slowly undid her clothes. When an alluring body was completely revealed, the small forest seemed to have increased its scenery. Even the wind in the mountain forest became much warmer. After working hard for a long time, Wu finally clumsily merged the two of them into one. A surge of pure yang energy immediately rushed into her body. Boom! A burst of baleful yin energy exploded. Wu was very familiar with this energy. Before she started cultivating when she was young, this baleful yin energy had been tormenting her. Not long after, she would have an attack, causing her body to turn cold as if she had fallen into an ice cave. That was her childhood nightmare. At this moment, this familiar feeling attacked her again, causing her teeth to involuntarily tremble. The pain that penetrated deep into her bones stimulated her, causing her to instantly fall into a coma. The two bodies were tightly pressed together. Time unknowingly passed, and after an unknown period of time, Tang Zheng opened his eyes. When he saw the person lying on top of him and closely connected to him, he couldn't help but shiver. Damn, what's going on? He stared at Wu with his mouth agape. It was obvious that he had recognized her. But the key point was, how could it be her? He immediately realized that his pure yang energy had erupted earlier, so he had walked back from the gates of hell after reconciling with her yin and yang energy. The key point was, why would Wu save him? Didn't she hate him to the bone? Could it be that Tian Chanzi caught her and forced her to do this? He shook his head and guessed. However, his attention was quickly attracted by another matter. His cultivation had actually broken through to the 5th level of Inidia, increasing by 3 levels in one go. How is this possible? Tang Zheng was baffled. He was very clear that the higher his cultivation, the harder it would be for him to increase it. But now he had actually increased his cultivation by 3 levels. This was simply a miracle. His gaze involuntarily locked onto Wu's body. Without a doubt, this miracle was created by her. Just what kind of physique does she have? It's actually more helpful to me than the pure yin body and the profound yin body. Tang Zheng was at a loss. Ever since Wu had cultivated the roaring flame blade, her yin fiend body's physique had been concealed, so it was difficult for ordinary people to discover it. Even though Tang Zheng had interacted with her so many times, he still hadn't discovered her yin fiend body's physique. Suddenly, a groan sounded out. Wu Di opened her eyes and felt a wave of pain coming from her body. The feeling from her lower body was exceptionally clear, causing her to involuntarily frown. Seeing that she had woken up, Tang Zheng quickly turned around. Their eyes met, staring at each other. Both of them stared blankly. Tang Zheng was stunned. She was originally very beautiful, but at such a close distance and without a single strand of clothing on, she was even more beautiful and soul-stirring. If it was any other man, their heart would not be able to help but race. But the key point was that the other party was not an ordinary woman, but a woman who killed without batting an eyelid. With the two of them like this, wouldn't she tear him into pieces? Just as Tang Zheng opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Marshall's exclamation. Marshall's eyes widened in disbelief as he muttered to himself, "How is this possible? How could my cultivation suddenly go from the first stage of the pre-celestial stage to the third stage of the pre-celestial stage?" With that, she turned her gaze towards Tang Zheng, bit her lips and thought, could it be that this is his credit? Could it be that doing that with him has such a miraculous effect? Just as this thought appeared in her mind, her gaze shifted downwards and she immediately looked down. The two of them were closely connected and couldn't be any more intimate. She couldn't help but cry out in alarm and hurriedly got up. However, the pain there caused her to involuntarily stagger and fall to the ground. Tang Zheng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He shouted, "Be careful," and pounced over like lightning. He hugged her body and the two of them met each other with sincerity and tightly hugged each other. Tang Zheng's pair of demonic claws pressed even more tightly onto her chest. Marshall's body went weak, but he was also furious. Just now, she had only saved him because she was following the sect master's orders. Moreover, he was still unconscious at that time. Although she was shy, she was not as embarrassed as when the two of them were awake. "Let go," Marshall shouted in embarrassment and anger. Tang Zheng retracted his hand as if he had been electrocuted and said embarrassedly, "Thank you for saving me." "It's not that I want to save you," Marshall said coldly. "Anyway, thank you. Turn around, I want to put on my clothes." "You're not allowed to peek." Marshall grabbed the clothes on the ground and covered his body as he shouted. Tang Zheng quickly turned around and asked without looking back, "What exactly is going on?" Marshall quickly put on her clothes while clenching her teeth. She thought hatefully in her heart, "You still have the nerve to ask this question, humph?" Seeing that she did not answer, Tang Zheng did not ask any more questions. He quickly picked up his clothes and put them on. Without a doubt, this matter was getting more and more complicated. He had to figure it out as soon as possible. Moreover, he remembered that he, Tian Chanzi and the others had escaped from Mount Buzhou. He did not see anyone else, so he wondered how they were doing. Did they successfully escape from the tiger's den? He let his imagination run wild for a moment, but he did not have an answer. "All right, you can turn around now." Seeing that Tang Zheng was also neatly dressed, Marshall said. Their eyes met. Although her beautiful body was covered by her clothes, the soul-stirring scene from before was still imprinted in Tang Zheng's mind. "You're still looking. Do you believe that I won't dig out your eyeballs?" Marshall threatened with a murderous aura. Tang Zheng quickly looked away and asked, "Where's my friend?" "They're all dead," Marshall said snappily. "What did you say?" Tang Zheng was shocked, he was dumbstruck and instantly released a biting cold killing intent. "You said they're all dead. Did the 100 Transformation Star Lord kill them?" "What 100 Transformation Star Lord?" Marshall was just casually lying to him, but he did not expect him to have such a big reaction. He asked blankly, "Who is the 100 Transformation Star Lord? Hurry up and tell me, where were they killed?" Tang Jing quickly approached and roared, "Young man, your temper is quite big." The martial sect master's voice floated into Tang Jing's ears. When Tang Jing turned his head, he discovered that there was another person beside him. From the beginning to the end, he did not sense anyone else nearby, but the other party had silently appeared like a ghost, causing his nerves to involuntarily tense up. Chapter 425. Tang Jing stared at the stranger in front of him and asked, "Who are you?" "Don't be rude." Wu De shouted, "This is our sect master." "Sect master?" Tang Jing was shocked. "Isn't this person the leader of the martial sect? Wasn't he the one who issued the order to kill all the cultivators in the world?" In an instant, Tang Jing's hair stood on end as he stared at the other party warily. The sect master waved his hand, indicating that there was no need to make a fuss. He asked indifferently, "Are you afraid of me? Didn't you want to kill me? Why did you save me?" Tang Jing asked in surprise. "Who gave you the jade pendant around your neck?" The sect master did not answer but went straight to the point. "Jade pendant?" Tang Jing subconsciously touched the jade pendant and suddenly remembered the last time he saw the jade pendant. He said coldly, "No comment." The sect master was not angry. Instead, he took out a jade pendant with the word sect carved on it and said, "Your jade pendant and this jade pendant are a pair." Tang Jing stared at the jade pendant that was almost identical, his heart trembling. "Grandfather once said that this jade pendant is related to my background. Could it be that my background is really related to the martial sect?" This was truly an inconceivable matter. The martial sect had spent so much effort to kill cultivators, and his own background was related to the martial sect. No matter how he listened to it, it sounded like a dream. Seeing Tang Jing's expression change, Wu Yi stared at him without blinking, his heartbeat uncontrollably increasing. Without a doubt, this was definitely a huge secret, and she urgently wanted to know the ins and outs of this matter. "Are you an orphan?" the sect master asked. Tang Jing snorted but did not comment. "It's useless if you don't answer. I've already investigated you. You're an orphan that Tang Dehai picked up back then. Do you want to know who your biological parents are?" the martial sect master asked. Tang Jing's head thumped. This question had been bothering him since he was a child. He saw other children with their parents but he didn't. Because of this, he was ridiculed. He really wanted to find his parents. However, as he gradually got used to it and realized how difficult it was for his grandfather to raise him, his desire to find his biological parents gradually faded. At this moment, when this question was brought up again, he hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "My family is only my grandfather, I don't want to know about them." The sect leader frowned and asked, "It seems that you hate them?" "It's not hate, I'm just a stranger to them," Tang Jing said calmly. "Isn't it a good thing to be reunited with your family? Why aren't you willing?" the sect leader asked. Tang Jing coldly snorted and said, "If you don't have any other questions, I'll leave first." He was worried about the safety of the others. Wu said that they were already dead, so he had to investigate thoroughly. "You can't leave yet," the sect leader said. Tang Jing's expression turned cold as he adopted a defensive stance. The martial organization was enough to make the great clans so fearful, so this sect leader was definitely not an ordinary person. Tang Jing did not dare to be careless. However, he also knew that he was definitely not the opponent's opponent, but so what? He would not just sit there and wait for death. "If you want to kill me, then come," Tang Jing coldly said. The sect leader retorted, "If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have let Marshall save you." Tang Jing's heart thumped. That's right, if the martial organization wanted to get rid of him, he could have done it with a single blade. Why would he let Marshall sacrifice himself to save him? Moreover, this kind of sacrifice was precious to a woman, even more important than her life. Immediately, Tang Jing could not help but be suspicious. What was the other party's goal, and why did he fall into the hands of the martial organization? Could it be that my friends were all killed by you? Otherwise, why would I fall into your hands? Tang Jing asked with killing intent. "I didn't kill your friends. I came for you," the sect leader said resolutely. "I'm just a small character. How could I make you, the dignified martial organization sect leader, mobilize so many people? I've already said it before. I came for your background. You are a member of the martial organization, but you are enemies with the martial organization everywhere. This is a matter of pain for your loved ones and pleasure for your enemies," the sect leader said regretfully. Tang Jing was stunned for a moment. Although he had already guessed a little, when he confirmed it from the other party's mouth, he could not help but feel his heart sway. Aha, I am a cultivator, and the martial organization specializes in hunting cultivators. How could I be a member of the martial organization? The sect leader sighed and said, there are too many secrets that cannot be revealed to outsiders. When she heard the sect leader sigh, it was as if she could not believe her eyes and ears. Ever since she could remember, the sect leader had never sighed before. He was like an invincible war god, never having such negative emotions. Waves of shock surged in Wu's heart as he watched everything in disbelief. However, Tang Jing was unmoved and said, I don't care about any secrets. I'm not interested in these secrets either. Don't tell me you don't want to recognize your biological parents? The sect leader hesitated for a moment before asking. If they still had a bit of responsibility as parents, they wouldn't have abandoned me. If it wasn't for my good luck, I'm afraid I would have disappeared from this world when I was still an infant. Tang Jing's words carried a trace of anger. They have their own difficulties. It's just that you don't know about them. The sect leader said with a gloomy expression. Tang Jing ignored him and said, my only relative is my grandfather, no one else, and I don't want to recognize anyone else. If you want to keep me, then make your move. With that, Tang Jing turned around and left. Halt. The sect leader let out a low snort. His figure flashed as he grabbed Tang Jing's shoulder. It was a simple attack, but it made Tang Jing feel as if he had been locked onto by an earth-shattering aura. No matter which direction he dodged in, he would not be able to escape this grab. Break for me. Tang Jing roared. The War Soul sword had already appeared in his hand, and he fiercely slashed at the hand above his head. The air seemed to be torn apart, but this pair of hands did not dodge. When the War Soul sword quickly slashed at the palm, the gesture changed and two fingers actually clamped down on the tip of the sword, making it difficult for the War Soul sword to advance any further. You are not my match. Give up. The sect leader advised. Don't even think about it. Tang Jing clenched his teeth, wanting to pull out the War Soul sword, but found that it did not move at all. Clang. Suddenly he felt that his hand was empty. The War Soul sword had actually left Tang Jing's hand and landed in the sect leader's hand. Buzz. The War Soul sword broke away from its master's control and started to tremble non-stop, but it was unable to break free from the sect leader's grasp. The magic treasure is indeed different from the rest. The sect leader looked at the War Soul sword in his hand and sighed. You already have a magic treasure, so you're no match for me, the sect leader said. Tang Jing snorted, but he did not give up. He extended his hand, and the heaven-shocking bow appeared in his hand. He opened the bow and knocked the arrow. The sun-shooting arrow was ready to be released, containing a terrifying power. Marshall had seen the power of the heaven-shocking bow before, and although he had never seen the sun-shooting arrow before, he could clearly feel the threat. He shouted in shock, Sect leader, be careful, this bow and arrow is very powerful. The sect leader said expressionlessly, then I'll experience how powerful your bow and arrow is. The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the air, and in that instant the world seemed to change color. The sun-shooting arrow was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was already there, heading straight for the sect leader's chest. At this moment, the sect leader raised his eyebrows and said, Good archery. Waving the War Soul sword in his hand, he drew a large circle in the air. The sun-shooting arrow immediately shot into the circle, and a surging power spread out. Bang! Bang! In all directions, all the trees that were shaken by this power were all cut in half and collapsed with a loud bang. Marshall looked at all of this in disbelief. This was just the power of one arrow, wasn't this too terrifying? This was much more powerful than the empty arrows in the past. The sect leader's expression also became dignified. He drew two circles in succession, completely enveloping the shooting sun arrow. The shooting sun arrow suddenly stopped, and its offensive power was reduced. The sect leader's big hand reached out and grabbed the shooting sun arrow. Tang Jing's pupils constricted. The sun-shooting arrow could help him raise his fighting strength by a few levels, but it was still unable to harm his opponent in the slightest. He did not stay any longer. Using the earth-shrinking technique, he quickly retreated into the dense forest. You won't be able to escape. The sect leader's speed was even faster than Tang Jing's. With a flash of his figure, he blocked Tang Jing's path. Tang Jing shot out another arrow without thinking. The sect leader did the same thing. The War Soul sword drew a few more circles, and entered a stalemate with the sun-shooting arrow. Tang Jing took advantage of this short opportunity to quickly escape. Halt! Marshall shouted and chased after her. However, her cultivation was still weaker than Tang Zheng's, and was still lacking by a bit. The sect leader neutralized the attack of the sun-shooting arrow again. With one hand holding the War Soul sword and the other holding the two sun-shooting arrows, he chased after them relentlessly. Tang Zheng did not need to turn his head to understand that the pursuers were getting closer and closer, but he did not run in the direction of the witch tribe. If the martial sect found out the exact whereabouts of the witch tribe, it would be a disaster for the witch tribe. Where? Suddenly he had an idea. Prehistoric heavenly tomb, right? Go there? He didn't know if the 100 Transformation Star Lord had broken through the restrictions, or if he had lured the sect leader to the 100 Transformation Star Lord, he would have a chance to escape. Sect leader, let's hurry up or else we'll let him escape. Wu had already used all of her abilities, but she was still unable to catch up to Tang Zheng. However, she discovered that the sect leader was running side by side with her, and did not have any intention of increasing her speed to catch up to him. There's no need to be anxious, he won't be able to escape. Didn't you say that he still has a mysterious witch tribe under him? Maybe he wants to go to the witch tribe to seek reinforcements, and we just happen to follow him. Otherwise, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens to find these people in such a huge 10,000 huge mountains. The sect leader said. Wu's eyes lit up as he said, Sect leader is wise. Sect leader, what should we do after we capture Tang Zheng? The sect leader smiled but did not say anything. Wu was full of suspicion, but he did not dare to ask again. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth in hatred. These two people were truly two tails, chasing closely after him, causing him to be exhausted. He did not know when he would reach the end. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from the front, shaking the heavens and earth. Chapter 426. Hearing the loud sound, Tang Zheng subconsciously stopped in his tracks and looked up, only to see a mess in front of him. The huge forest had turned into ruins with broken walls. A complacent shout rang out, Tian Chanzi, obediently accept your death. Boom. With a loud sound, a figure flew over from the distance and landed not far away from Tang Zheng in a sorry state. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he cried out involuntarily, Tian Chanzi. Tian Chanzi was dumbstruck and exclaimed, Brat, why are you back? Your pure yang force is already under control? Tang Zheng immediately stood in front of Tian Chanzi to protect him and said, I'm fine, how are you? I won't die for the time being, but this 100 Transformation Star Lord is really hard to deal with. Tian Chanzi said solemnly. Where are the others? The others? Didn't they leave with you? Didn't you see them when you woke up? Tian Chanzi was extremely surprised. They're not dead, right? Tang Zheng asked anxiously. Dead. Anyway, when we separated they were still safe and sound. Brat, stop dawdling and leave quickly. The two of us are not a match for the 100 Transformation Star Lord. Tian Chanzi urged impatiently. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. Since they were separated and the others were still safe and sound, then Wu's words might not be credible. Tang Zheng, you actually came as well. Ah, just in time, I'll send you on your way. The 100 Transformation Star Lord rushed over and laughed sinisterly. Tang Zheng remained unmoved but shifted his gaze to the back. As expected, two figures chased after him like shadows. He was overjoyed. The 100 Transformation Star Lord was too powerful. He was afraid that he could only temporarily rely on the power of the martial sect's sect master to contend against him. Two more people came. Who are they? The 100 Transformation Star Lord stared at the newcomers and frowned. Yo, why is there a child? Seeing the appearance of the 100 Transformation Star Lord, Marshall subconsciously blurted out. The 100 Change Star Sovereign flew into a rage. I hate it when people call me a child. You are a child to begin with. Don't tell me you want to pretend to be an adult? Marshall said matter-of-factly. Women are indeed sharp-tongued. I'll break your teeth first. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign roared and disappeared. Suddenly, Marshall felt a sense of danger that he had never felt before. All the hair on his body stood on end, but before he could resist, the figure of the 100 Transformation Star Lord appeared in front of her once again. She didn't see clearly how he had come to her side from so far away. She couldn't help but be stunned. Whoosh! He slapped her in the mouth. With this slap, her mouth full of teeth would definitely be broken, but she had no room to resist at all. Bang! A fist appeared right in front of her and blocked the slap. A strong airflow rose into the sky and spread in all directions. Marshall's cheeks were in pain from the wind. He immediately retreated and finally saw that the sect master had saved him at the critical moment. You have some ability. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord's eyes flashed as he warned the sect master who was right in front of him. Tian Chanzi looked at the sect master in astonishment and exclaimed, "Who is this person? His strength is not simple, to be able to block the attack of the 100 Transformation Star-Lord. He is the martial sect master." Tang Jing introduced him in a low voice. In the blink of an eye, Tian Chanzi opened his eyes wide and said with unconcealable anger, "It's him? He was the one who ordered the hunting of cultivators?" "Yes. Why is he here? The people sent by the martial sect last time returned empty-handed. That's why he personally took action. They were the ones who saved me just now." "They saved you?" Tian Chanzi was in disbelief. "I thought it was that little girl from the Li Palace who saved you." "So it was this girl. Back then in the ordinary balance she chased after you to kill you. This time you've taken revenge on her." Tang Jing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Isn't the martial sect hunting cultivators? Why would they save you?" Tian Chanzi asked suspiciously. Tang Jing said in a low voice, "My background seems to be related to the martial sect." How could this be? Didn't Tang Dahai pick you up from the garbage dump?" Tian Chanzi was even more surprised. "It's a long story. Let's first solve the problem in front of us." Tang Jing sighed. The others did not pay attention to the whispers between the two of them. Instead they focused on each other. The martial sect's sect master had long since frowned as he looked at the 100 Transformation Star-Lord with a complicated expression. He asked warily, "Who are you?" "Haha, I haven't asked who you are yet. You have quite the guts to actually dare to ask me." The 100 Transformation Star-Lord said with a fake smile. "His name is 100 Transformation Star-Lord. He's a very powerful cultivator." Tang Jing shouted. With that said, the martial sect master's expression remained the same, but Wu Zong's face turned pale with fright. He exclaimed in his heart, "This person is a cultivator. Where did such a powerful cultivator come from?" Of course, the martial sect master also wanted to know the answer. He said with a burst of blood, "Are you a cultivator from the 10,000 huge mountains?" He was sure that there was no such powerful cultivator in the outside world. This person had most likely been hiding in the 10,000 huge mountains. Something had obviously changed in the 10,000 huge mountains, so it was not as dangerous as before. That was why his journey was unimpeded. If it was in the past, when he met such a cultivator, he would definitely not hesitate to use his killing move. But now, Tang Jing's appearance had disrupted his established steps, so he was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he wanted to figure out the ins and outs of the situation. "Of course I am a cultivator from the 10,000 huge mountains. Who are you?" "He is the martial sect master." "The martial sect specializes in hunting cultivators?" Tang Jing shouted. More accurately speaking, the 100 Transformation Star-Lord belonged to cultivators. Although there was no distinction between cultivators and warriors in ancient times, it was obvious that the 100 Transformation Star-Lord cultivated innate chi, so he was a cultivator. However, 100 Change Star King did not have any prejudice about the difference between genuine chi and internal strength. He did not care about the difference between practitioners and warriors. He just praised, "No wonder you can hunt practitioners. It turns out that you have such high strength. However, it is your bad luck to meet me, 100 Change Star King. Humph, I have come to this world again. If I don't use blood as a sacrifice, wouldn't it be too lonely?" Hearing that, Tang Jing was overjoyed and said in a low voice, "Tian Chanzi, this 100 Transformation Star-Lord is too abnormal. We should leave first and let the martial sect master entangle him." "How can that be?" Tian Chanzi immediately rejected. "This martial sect master killed so many cultivators, I want to get rid of him first." "Don't be angry." Tang Jing quickly persuaded him. "Tian Chanzi, isn't it a good thing to have such an enemy to attract firepower? Why do we have to stay? This 100 Transformation Star-Lord is a big trouble, we have to stay away." Tian Chanzi's heart moved. Just now he and the 100 Transformation Star-Lord fought hundreds of rounds. He was the most clear about the opponent's strength. He judged that the opponent's strength was at least at the Yuanying stage. As for the specific cultivation, he could not guess. In other words, Tian Chanzi was definitely not the opponent of the 100 Transformation Star-Lord. In this case, if he recklessly entangled with the opponent, he would be courting death. Tian Chanzi was still shouldering the mission of letting the cultivators return. How could he be willing to lose his life like this? So he nodded calmly and said, "Okay, I promise you we will retreat first. Since the martial sect girls saved you, then I will let them go for the time being. If they can escape from the 100 Transformation Star-Lord, then I will find them to settle accounts." Hearing this, Tang Jing heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing that the 100 Transformation Star Lord wanted to kill him, the martial sect leader's expression did not change. He gripped the War Soul Sword tightly and said without fear, "You are a cultivator, I want to kill you too." He let Tang Jing go, but that did not mean that he would be merciful to other cultivators, so he raised the sword in his hand. His movements were not fast. He lightly drew a few circles in front of his chest, and a vast power rushed out from these circles like a volcanic eruption. There was a clap of thunder on the ground. There was no warning before, just a few strokes of the War Soul Sword, and the aura was completely different. Seeing that, Tian Chanzi raised his eyebrows and praised, as expected of the martial sect leader, "This sword technique is not simple, its power is peerless." As if to confirm his judgment, the 100 Transformation Star Lord roared and quickly retreated. The ground he was standing on had already started to crack as if it was an earthquake. The cracks spread to his feet as if they wanted to devour him. The 100 Transformation Star Lord soared into the air and steadily stopped in midair. He chuckled, "Interesting, truly interesting." After pausing for a moment, he roared, 10,000 clones. So. In the blink of an eye, many clones of the 100 Transformation Star Lord appeared in all directions, all of them looking at him with evil intentions and sneering. This was the first time Wu had seen this scene. She covered her mouth in shock, her face filled with disbelief. The martial sect leader's expression also changed slightly as he pounced forward. "Let's go." Tang Jing and Tian Chanzi saw the opportunity and turned to run, while the two of them were completely entangled by the thousands of clones. "Marshal, leave quickly. I'll hold him back." The martial sect leader obviously realized that this was a huge danger and immediately ordered Wu to leave. "Sect leader, I'm not leaving. I want to fight with you and kill all of these cultivators." Marshal remained unmoved. A flame rose from his palm, and a roaring flame blade greeted the 100 Transformation Star Lord. "No, hurry up and leave. I have a way to deal with it and escape." The sect leader shouted, and then Marshal found himself flying as light as a swallow, flying out of the encirclement. However, the 100 Transformation Star Lord had too many complete clones, and a few of them intercepted her in midair. "Kill. I will kill all of you." Marshal was not afraid at all. He roared and attacked at the same time. However, although these were clones, their strength was still not weak. Tang Jing and Tian Chanzi had already escaped a distance away. Tang Jing subconsciously turned his head to look back, and when he saw the dangerous Marshal, his heart moved, and he couldn't help but think of the scene when she saved him. "She saved my life, I can't just watch her die." If it was in the past, he would have turned a blind eye to it, but she had saved him after all. No matter what her goal was, Tang Jing could not forget this life-saving grace. Thus, he gritted his teeth, turned around and rushed towards Marshal. Chapter 427. Seeing that, Tian Chanzi turned pale with fright and shouted, "Brat, what are you going back for?" "I'm going to save her." Tang Jing did not even turn his head, and in the blink of an eye he was already in front of Marshal, and with a sound, a sun-shooting arrow directly pierced through 3 clones, resolving Marshal's crisis. "Let's go." Tang Jing picked up the sun-shooting arrow, grabbed Marshal's arm, used the earth-shrinking technique and quickly fled backwards, while a few clones chased after him. "So I've really been killed by you." Tian Chanzi also turned around and took care of a few clones in a few moves. "I'm not leaving, I want to fight side by side with Sect Master." Marshal shouted loudly. Tang Jing glanced at the martial sect master who was surrounded by thousands of clones and said, "Are you going to die with him?" "I don't want you to care." Marshal gritted his teeth and stared angrily at Tang Jing. "If you want to die, it won't be that easy." Tang Jing used the body-securing technique, and Marshal was immediately unable to move. He could not help but shout, "What did you do to me? Quickly let me go, I want to fight." "Fight my ass, let's go." Tang Jing directly carried her on his shoulder, her full chest pressing down on Tang Jing's shoulder, and then quickly drilled into the forest. Tian Chanzi still had a lingering fear. He patted his chest and said, "Luckily, I thought you were crazy and wanted to help the martial sect master, so you've taken a fancy to this little girl." In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them disappeared into the dense forest, ignoring the intense sounds of battle coming from behind them. Marshal kept cursing and scolding Tang Jing, but he was unable to move, to no avail. "Little girl, Tang Jing saved you and you're still scolding him. This is repaying kindness with enmity," Tian Chanzi said. "Who wants him to save me?" I don't want him to save me, I want to fight side by side with Sect Master. Marshall did not appreciate it at all. You really don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Kid, where are we going next? Tian Chanzi changed the topic. Tang Zheng was worried about the safety of the sorcerer tribe and said, let's go back to the sorcerer tribe. After returning to the tribe with the help of the four symbols venerables, their strength would increase by a large margin, and they would be able to better defend against the invading enemies. What about this girl? Are you going to bring her there too? Tian Chanzi asked curiously. Tang Zheng hesitated, but in an instant he understood that the witch clan had already been exposed to the world. Furthermore, he had seen the witch clan before, so even if he brought her back to the witch clan this time, there wouldn't be much of a problem. Because the most important thing was that if he did not bring her in, she would definitely return to find the martial sect leader without hesitation. That would be courting death. Tang Zheng certainly couldn't let his hard work go to waste. He couldn't let her die like this. Yes, bring her along. I'm not going, I'm going to find the sect leader. Wu still roared. How noisy. I'll let her be quiet for a while. Tian Chanzi tapped on Wu Wu's head, and Wu Wu lost consciousness. After passing through the large illusion array outside the tribe, the tall city gate of the witch tribe finally appeared in front of his eyes. This was the first time Tian Chanzi had come to the witch tribe. He couldn't help but open his eyes wide and exclaim, the scale is not small. Tang Jing nodded but realized that the people on top of the city gate were already cheering, Lord Envoy is back, Lord Envoy is back. Immediately the entire tribe was in an uproar. The tall stone door opened and a large group of people rushed out. The person in the lead was the witch clan elder and Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan took 2 steps and quickly rushed over. He excitedly stopped in front of Tang Zheng and said in disbelief, Lord Envoy, you're finally back. Are you alright? When Tang Zheng was snatched away by the martial sect, Yi Yuan was both angry and regretful. He felt extremely guilty, and when he saw that Tang Zheng was safe and sound, he was about to cry tears of joy. I'm fine. Are all of you safe and sound? Tang Zheng asked with concern. Li Xiaotian is gone. Everyone else is fine. Yi Yuan said, but his gaze landed on Wu Wu. Lord Envoy, why did you bring her here? It's a long story. As soon as he finished speaking, a white figure rushed over, followed closely by a black figure. Xiao Bai jumped onto Tang Zheng's shoulder, hugged his head, and kept scratching his hair, intimately rubbing against his cheek. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised and said, I'm fine, Xiao Bai. Jiji. Xiao Bai pouted, feeling very resentful. The thundercloud beast stood in front of Tang Zheng, raising its head to look at him curiously. Lord Envoy, let's go back to the house first. The witch clan elder looked at Tian Chanzi with a complicated expression and suggested. When the few of them returned to the tribe, the witch clan elder said impatiently, Lord Envoy, this trip to the Forbidden Grounds actually provoked such a powerful 100 transformation Star Lord. What should we do now? One of the main goals of Tang Zheng's trip to the Forbidden Grounds was to clarify the mystery of the witch clan's entrapment. Now he found out that it was most likely done by Qiyu, which caused him to be confused. Hearing the elder's question, Tang Zheng said in a deep voice, this place is no longer safe, whether it is the witch clan or the government, they will not turn a blind eye to the witch clan, so I suggest that the witch clan walk out of the 10,000 huge mountains. The sorcerer tribe had long wanted to leave the 100,000 mountains. Hearing this decision, the sorcerer tribe elder became excited, but he also fell into deep worry. He said, but the guardian god is so tall. If he leaves with us, will he cause trouble in the outside world? Tang Zheng rubbed the space between his eyebrows. This was indeed a big problem. The 4 symbols venerable was a great help, and now even the 100 transformation Star Lord might covet the 4 symbols venerable. If he left them here, it would be too easy for the other party. However, if he were to take them away, such a large stone statue would probably cause a lot of trouble in the outside world. Seeing that Tang Zheng was at his wit's end, Tian Chanzi said, Brat, what's so difficult about this? Don't you have a sumer bag? Just put the 4 symbols venerable inside. Tang Zheng's heart moved and he said happily, Really? Of course you can. What level of magic treasure is your sumer belt now? Profound level magic treasure. Tian Chanzi pinched his chin and said, This is a bit difficult. The 4 symbols venerable is too big. Only by upgrading the Sumeru belt to an earth-level magic treasure can I store them. Then how can I upgrade the Sumeru bag's level? Of course it's refining, to further improve the quality of the Sumeru bag. Tian Chanzi said. You're talking about refining? The witch clan elder knew a little about Tian Chanzi's identity, so he did not dare to neglect this expert and asked curiously. Tian Chanzi smiled mysteriously. Yes, refining is the same as refining pills. Brat, your alchemy skills are already not bad, but you have never refined before. This time I can use your summer bag to practice. Right, the 9 revolving pill furnace is still in your hands, right? Of course. Tang Jing nodded his head. Hee, back then you really picked up a treasure at the auction. Don't look at how the 9 revolving pill furnace is no longer as glorious as it used to be. After all, its foundation is there. Not only can it refine pills, it can also refine weapons. This is a condition that many other pill furnaces do not have. Tian Chanzi said in amazement. Alchemy and artifact refining were 2 completely different refining methods. Generally, alchemy furnaces could only be used for one purpose, either alchemy or artifact refining. However, there were a few alchemy furnaces that could be used for both purposes. The 9 revolving pill furnace was this kind of precious pill furnace. Although the 9 revolving pill furnace was damaged and was no longer a heaven-level magic treasure, this kind of innate attribute did not change. Tang Jing waved his hand and the 9 revolving pill furnace appeared in front of everyone. Tian Chanzi's eyes lit up and praised, it's actually a profound level magic treasure. Good brat, you actually leveled it up. Not bad. That's only natural. Tang Jing said proudly. The reason the 9 revolving pill furnace had broken through was because it had absorbed the power of the sacrificial antiques. However, he had not been able to find that type of antique again, which made him feel quite regretful. However, to upgrade the Sumeru bag's grade, I still need several materials. Tian Chanzi casually mentioned several materials. When the elder heard this, he immediately said, Our tribe has all of these. Tian Chanzi laughed, Then it doesn't matter. In a few days your Sumeru bag's grade can be upgraded. Tian Chanzi, can a destroyed magic treasure be refined again? Tang Jing asked curiously. Of course. Tang Jing was overjoyed. My dragon trapping rope has been destroyed, so can it be refined again? Yes. Tian Chanzi had seen the dragon trapping rope before. It's just that the dragon trapping rope's material is quite special. It would be best if it had the tendons of a flood dragon. Python flood dragon? Hearing that, Tang Jing was overjoyed. Yi Yuan also thought of something and shouted, Didn't we just kill a python flood dragon last time? The flood dragon's tendons are still unused. The elder also nodded. Yes, it's currently in the warehouse. I'll get someone to go get it. Just at this time they heard a commotion outside. A witch tribesman rushed in and shouted, Lord Envoy, the girl you brought back has woken up. She was about to leave but was stopped by us. She is currently rushing outside. Tang Jing frowned and immediately rushed out, only to see that Wu had already rushed to the middle of the plaza, and more than 10 witch tribesmen were blocking her way. She was continuously charging forward, trying to rush over. Halt. Tang Jing made a prompt decision and blocked her path. Wu glared at him as if his eyes were spitting fire and roared, Tang Jing, get out of the way. Since you're here, it's not up to you anymore. In a few days we'll leave this place. At that time we'll naturally let you leave. Tang Jing said bluntly. I'm leaving now. I'm going to save the sect master. Tang Jing, your background is related to the martial sect. Don't you want to save the sect master? Wu asked with red eyes. I have no connection with the martial sect. Nonsense, the jade pendant you have on you is the most precious treasure of the martial sect, and you still dare to say that you have nothing to do with it? In addition, do you know that the sect master and mistress also had a child, but in the end, the baby disappeared without a trace? I suspect that you are the baby from back then, and that the sect master is your biological father. Wu Yen said his guess in a flustered and exasperated manner. With that said, everything fell silent. Chapter 428. Tang Jing's expression changed in an instant, and he said angrily, You're talking nonsense. He had always had a natural rejection of the martial sect, but now that he was told that he was the son of the martial sect master, how could he not be angry? I'm speaking the truth. If not, why would the sect leader want to save you? Sect leader said that back then he adopted me because I have a baleful physique that can balance your pure yang energy. If the sect leader isn't your father, why would he put in so much effort? Wu Jingfeng retorted. Tang Jing's heart skipped a beat. Although Marshall had saved him, this was the first time he had heard of this matter. No wonder you're safe and sound. So this girl has a baleful body. I was saying that your body was about to explode. How could you be safe and sound in the blink of an eye? Tian Chanzi was suddenly enlightened, but towards Tang Jing's background, Tianquanzi was helpless and had mixed feelings. You have nothing to say, right? If I were you, I would hurry up and save the sect master. Otherwise, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Wu advised. I won't save him. Don't even think about it. Lock her up. Tang Jing once again used the body-securing technique, causing Marshall to be unable to move. Wu immediately shouted, Tang Jing, you bastard, let me go, let me go. Tang Jing was annoyed and said, gag her mouth and take her down. Circled plus, Tang Jing's expression was unsettled. All of the Witch clan members were silent. Only Tianquanzi sighed, patted Tang Jing's shoulder and said, follow me, I have something to say to you. The two of them went up the city wall and dismissed their attendants. Tianquanzi went straight to the point and asked, is what that girl said true? Of course it's fake. Tang Jing said without hesitation. Don't answer me so quickly. Think about it first. Is it possible that it's true? Tianquanzi asked. Tang Jing fell silent. His expression became solemn and even pained. I originally wanted to kill the sect leader of the martial organization, but it seems that this plan can only be temporarily shelved. As long as he does not provoke me, I will not find trouble with him. Tianquanzi sighed and said. Tang Jing shook his head and said, even if he really is my biological father, he abandoned me back then. I have nothing to do with him anymore. Blood is thicker than water. It's not something that can be explained in 1 or 2 sentences. My opinion is that we investigate it thoroughly. As for whether he will die at the hands of the 100 Faces Star-Lord, you don't have to worry about that. A person like him will definitely have some means to save his life, Tianquanzi comforted. Tang Jing continued to remain silent. Let's refine artifacts first. Only by improving ourselves can we have a stronger ability to deal with future changes. Tianquanzi said. For the next 2 days he was immersed in refining artifacts. Refining artifacts and refining pills had something in common, and with Tianquanzi's guidance, the Sumeru bag was successfully upgraded to an Earth-level magic treasure. The space inside had actually been greatly expanded, turning into a true small world, which was more than enough to hold the 4 symbols venerables. The dragon-trapped rope had also been successfully refined, and was still an Earth-level magic treasure. Unfortunately, the War Soul Sword and the 2 shooting sun arrows had fallen into the hands of the martial organization's sect leader, and he did not know when he would be able to find them. Tang Jing could do nothing about it, but he knew that starving for 2 days was not a big deal. He only hoped that he could solve the problem of the 4 symbols venerables as soon as possible, and then he could migrate and leave the 10,000 huge mountains. On this day the sun was high in the sky, and the blue sky was filled with white clouds. All of the Witch clan members were gathered in the plaza, and even Marshall was standing in the plaza. Tang Jing did not continue to use the body-locking technique on her, because she knew that she would not be able to escape from this tribe that was like an iron wall, so she did not waste her energy. However, she looked at Tang Jing with eyes full of anger, while the others looked at Tang Jing with eyes full of anticipation. Tang Jing was trying to put the 4 symbols venerables into the Sumeru bag. He took out the Sumeru bag, and the Sumeru bag that was as thin as a cicada's wing floated in front of him. He activated his mental cultivation method, and a majestic force spread out in all directions, completely enveloping the 4 symbols venerables. The 4 symbols venerables immediately emitted a black light, but they did not move at all. What's going on? Tang Jing was secretly shocked. Don't give up. The 4 symbols venerables are divine objects, and their own strength will resist other forces. Aren't you connected to the 4 symbols venerables? Emissary, communicate with them and have them let go of their instinctive resistance. Tianquanzi suggested after pondering for a moment. Tang Jing and the 4 symbols venerables were indeed connected. With a thought, he indeed felt that instinctive resistance. Although the 4 symbols venerables did not have life, they had a weak subconscious. Tang Jing wanted to completely control this subconscious so that he could put them into the Sumeru bag. Whoosh. Suddenly, the light on one of the 4 symbols venerables disappeared, and then this 4 symbols venerables disappeared into thin air before everyone's eyes. Everyone was overjoyed, but held their breaths and continued to watch the remaining 4 symbols venerables. Tang Jing was incomparably excited, but he suppressed his emotions and continued to cast his arts. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The remaining 4 symbols venerables disappeared at the same time. Deafening cheers immediately rang out. Tang Jing could not help but curve the corners of his mouth. At this moment, the 4 symbols venerables were quietly placed in his Sumeru bag. With a wave of his hand, he put away the Sumeru bag and kept it close to his body. Lord Emissary, congratulations. You've succeeded, the elder said excitedly. The obstacle to the witch clan leaving the 10,000 huge mountains had been completely removed. Of course the elder was happy. Before Tang Zheng could say anything, he heard a noisy rumbling sound coming from the sky. What was going on? Everyone raised their heads at the same time and saw a few large birds flying over from afar under the brilliant sunlight. It wasn't a big bird, it was a helicopter. Tang Zheng was shocked. Wasn't the sky above the 10,000 huge mountains a restricted area for flying? How could there be planes flying over safely and more than one? In fact, Tang Zheng instantly understood that the restrictions in the 10,000 huge mountains must have completely disappeared, which was why the planes could safely fly into this area. These planes were obviously from the military. Tang Zheng's vision was very good, and he had already clearly seen the weapons mounted below the helicopters. There were missiles and cannons, and it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. Everyone hide! Tang Zheng shouted, but most of the witch clan members were at a loss. Instead they shouted, "Lord Emissary, it's a big bird. We'll shoot it down for you." Someone immediately drew his bow and arrow, wanting to shoot down the helicopter. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. The witch clan did not recognize this thing at all, so he quickly stopped them. "Everyone listen to my orders, this is not a bird but a helicopter. It is very dangerous. Everyone leave the tribe and hide in the forest." These hundreds of people were hidden in the forest, and the forest was very dense, which could greatly reduce the threat of the helicopter. "Listen to the orders of the envoy, hide." The elder repeated the order, and no one delayed any longer. The witch clan was a soldier, and even the women and children were tenacious warriors. In the blink of an eye, most of the people disappeared into the dense forest, leaving only a small group of people to guard the center of the square. Tian Chanzi frowned and said, "They have come with ill intentions, strike first to gain the initiative and beat them down." Although the helicopter had the advantage of high altitude and long range, it was still not difficult for an expert like Tian Chanzi. Tang Zheng stopped him and said, "Let's wait and see." He did not want to be enemies with the military. "Listen up, the people below. Immediately put down your weapons and surrender. Otherwise we will immediately open fire." A stern order came from the helicopter. Put down your weapons. Dream on." The witch clan members were indignant. They were all natural warriors and their weapons were their lives. How could they surrender without a fight? Tang Zheng's expression was serious and he asked loudly, "What exactly are you doing?" His voice was not loud, but it accurately reached the sky 100 meters above him, penetrating the rumbling sound of the propellers. "I want all of you to not resist, surrender and then come back with us." An order came from the helicopter. "Impossible," Tang Zheng said without hesitation. "We don't want to be enemies with you. You can leave on your own. Otherwise, if anything happens, I won't be responsible." In a helicopter, a person said hatefully, "I already said that he was stubborn and would not surrender. Why don't we just open fire? There's no need to talk so much nonsense." If Tang Zheng saw this person, he would be very surprised because this was his old acquaintance, the leader of the archaeological team, Lu Ming. Without a doubt, Lu Ming had reported the matter of the witch clan to his superiors, which was why the military had been attracted and even used a helicopter. Of course, the country would not ignore the sudden appearance of a mysterious force. Lu Ming was participating in the operation as a consultant for the military, and his words carried a lot of weight. When an officer heard this, he replied, "We can't just open fire like this. The orders from the higher-ups are to bring these people back for investigation and research, not to completely eliminate them." Lu Ming had already seen Tang Zheng in the square through his binoculars. He hated Tang Zheng to the bone, so he said, "These people are not ordinary people. If we don't use force to intimidate them, how can we make them obediently listen to us? It's just a few people dying, it's not a big deal." The officer looked at him in surprise, thinking that this person was even more ruthless than the people in the army. However, Lu Ming had the title of consultant above his head, so his opinion could not be underestimated. "If they are really stubborn, then of course I will attack," the officer said, then continued to shout to the people below through the loudspeaker, "Since you are not enemies, then you should surrender without a fight, because this is the only way you will not be injured, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. I will count to 10 and immediately throw in, otherwise we will immediately open fire. 10, 9, 8. Hearing the countdown coming from above their heads, the faces of the people in the square turned ugly. The elder said angrily, "Sir Envoy, let's resist. There are only 5 big birds in total. Let's shoot them all down." "Yes, take them down." The other witch clan members agreed. Chapter 429. 4, 3, 2, 1. After the countdown, the atmosphere in the plaza reached its peak. It was as if the air had stopped flowing. The witches were filled with righteous indignation as they all asked to fight. Tang Jing really did not want to have too much friction with the military. If he shot down the other party's helicopter, then things would get out of control. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a trace of complacency and cunning as he urged, "Did you see that? I already said that these people are stubborn. If we don't let them suffer a little, they won't surrender. Fire." The officer had no choice but to order in a deep voice, "Fire!" Bang bang bang. The cannon spat out flames as the 23mm bullets whistled towards the plaza. The 5 helicopters opened fire at the same time with great power. The whistling bullets arrived in the blink of an eye. Tang Jing shouted loudly and dispersed. Everyone was like monkeys as they quickly retreated from the plaza. Boom boom boom. The bullets struck the plaza. The originally hard plaza was torn apart by such a huge force. The mysterious lines turned into ruins, stone fragments flew everywhere, and the smell of gunpowder floated in the air. The witch clan's eyes were bloodshot as if they were about to spit out fire. They roared, "Lord Envoy, they destroyed our plaza, they destroyed our home." Originally, the 4 symbols venerables stood in the plaza, so this plaza had a special meaning. But now it had been turned into ruins by the guns and cannons. How could they not be angry? Tang Jing's face was also ashen. He did not expect the other party to open fire so recklessly. They really wanted to kill them. The witch clan respected him so much and believed in him. How could he just watch as the witch clan died under these guns and cannons? Thus, he muttered to himself for a moment before ordering, "Counterattack. Let them see my strength." Since there was no way to negotiate peacefully, then he would show off his muscles and strength. Only then would he be able to increase his bargaining chips. Wu had been silently observing Tang Jing the entire time. Seeing that he had given the order, he teased, "Aren't you afraid of a backlash if you go against the military?" Tang Jing coldly snorted and said, "They were the ones who started the war first, so they can't blame me. I remember that your martial sect has a good relationship with the military." Marshall curled her lips and said, "The martial organization is related to the upper echelons of the government, and has no substantial relationship with the military." For the time being, Tang Jing did not care about this matter. Instead, he ordered the shamans to take action. The shamans moved at lightning speed. They quickly climbed up the tall city wall and aimed a heavy crossbow at the helicopter hovering in the sky. These crossbows were extremely sturdy, and their arrows were as thick as an arm. Their lethality was astonishing, and ordinary people would find it difficult to control these big fellows. Only the witch clan's innate divine strength would have such strength. The shamans had been hunting since they were young, so they had a natural advantage in hunting. They quickly aimed at a helicopter and the elder immediately ordered, "Fire!" Whoosh! The arrow pierced through the air with an ear-piercing sound, heading straight for one of the helicopters. The people on the helicopter had already seen the witch tribesmen shooting arrows at them, but they didn't think it was enough. After all, they were hovering hundreds of meters in the air, and ordinary arrows wouldn't have such a range. However, they had completely underestimated the strength of the witch clan. Only when the huge crossbow arrow was close to them did they come to a realization. They were so scared that their backs were drenched in cold sweat. They shouted, "Enemy attack, quickly dodge, dodge." However, it was already too late. The crossbow arrow fiercely and accurately shot into the helicopter. The huge inertia caused the helicopter to climb up for a distance before quickly falling down. "Mayday! Mayday!" Hurried shouts came from within the helicopter. Although the arrow did not take anyone's life, it directly destroyed the helicopter and prevented it from flying. The helicopter quickly fell into the dense forest. When the other teammates on the helicopter saw this, they turned pale with fright and immediately shouted, "Climb up, quickly climb up." The remaining 4 helicopters quickly climbed up and pulled away. The military roared in anger, "Open fire, destroy the crossbows on the city wall." Boom, 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 boom. The bullets that filled the sky fiercely shot onto the city wall. The witch tribesmen had long since left the city wall and were not injured. However, the city wall was riddled with holes. "Sir Envoy, our crossbow arrows have been destroyed. What should we do now?" the elder asked. Before Tang Jing could answer, Tian Chanzi had already taken out his treasured sword and said, "Without the crossbow, I will still take them down." Tang Jing also drew his bow and aimed the sun-shooting arrow at the helicopter. Attack! The 2 of them attacked at the same time. The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the air, while Tian Chanzi used the imperial sword technique. The treasured sword turned into a ray of sword light and slashed out. Enemy attack, enemy attack. Screams came from the helicopter again, but then came another wave of cries for help. The two helicopters directly fell into the forest. The members of the remaining two helicopters were stunned. This was an asymmetrical battle. The opponent's methods were too terrifying. Missiles, fire the missiles. The officer made a prompt decision and roared at the top of his lungs. Whiz whiz. Two missiles flew out from below the cabin, heading straight for the hiding spot of Tang Zheng and the others. Run! Tang Zheng shouted. Everyone immediately rushed out of the collapsed city wall. After a rumbling explosion, the entire witch tribe was engulfed in a sea of fire, and the plaza was completely overturned like a piece of land that had been plowed by an iron shovel. Lu Ming's face revealed a fierce and proud expression as he shouted, "Let's see how you guys escape." Fire, continue to fire. Whiz whiz. Another two missiles. This time, the witch tribe was completely turned into ruins, causing the witch tribesmen hiding in the forest to gnash their teeth. Zhi. Suddenly Xiao Bai called out to the Thunder Cloud Beast. The Thunder Cloud Beast curled its lips and said with a reluctant look, "You want me to do it again?" With that, it flapped its little wings and soared into the air, flying straight towards the helicopter. What is that? The crew looked at the small figure that was getting closer and closer. No matter what it is, fire and shoot it down. Lu Ming shouted. Ping ping ping. The cannons fired, but the Thunder Cloud Beast was too agile. It shuttled through the rain of bullets and was unharmed. It quickly flew to the top of the helicopter. Roar. The Thunder Cloud Beast roared and its body quickly grew. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its true form and became a huge monster. The crew felt that there was a black mass above their heads, completely blocking the sunlight. The helicopter flipped and finally saw the huge monster above their heads. Everyone's heart thumped and they were scared out of their wits. Although they were soldiers who had undergone strict training, but in the face of such a monster, they could not help but feel fear. Lu Ming was so scared that his eyes rolled back and he almost fainted. Fire! Everyone quickly reacted and shouted. However, the Thunder Cloud Beast did not give them the chance. Its claws slapped a helicopter and the helicopter immediately fell into the forest. Then, the Thunder Cloud Beast directly grabbed the propeller of the last helicopter. With a fierce tug, the propeller that was spinning rapidly was directly torn from the fuselage. The helicopter lost its power and fell straight to the square. Lu Ming and the others in the cabin screamed at the top of their lungs. Lu Ming's intestines turned green. How can I be so unlucky? In order to see Tang Zheng suffer, I couldn't wait to volunteer to be a consultant. Now I can't even keep my life. Seeing that the helicopter was about to fall in the square, some people were ready to jump out of the cabin directly. However, at such a fast speed, jumping out will only lead to death. One by one they were scared out of their wits. Their faces were pale to the extreme, and their screams almost broke through the solid cabin wall. Oh. At the critical moment, the Thunder Cloud Beast grabbed the top of the cabin, and the helicopter's falling momentum immediately reduced. It stopped steadily, but it was only a little distance from the ground. The screams of the crowd stopped abruptly. They looked at the scene in disbelief. They didn't die in time. From the hole in the cabin, they could clearly see the figure of the Thunder Cloud Beast. Everyone immediately understood that they were saved by this monster, and their hearts couldn't help but hang in the air. Bang! The cabin landed safely, and the Thunder Cloud Beast also flew down. The witch tribesmen immediately surrounded the cabin, and in an instant the cabin was completely surrounded. Before the people in the cabin could react, they saw that they were surrounded by densely packed, strong people. Each of them stared at them with an unfriendly expression, as if they wanted to eat them alive. Lu Ming was scared and quickly hid in the innermost area. He was very clear about the strength of the witch tribe. Without the threat of the helicopter, they were no match for the witch tribe. Get out! Tang Zheng flew into a rage. Although the witch tribe was about to leave, their home, which they had lived in for so many years, was destroyed. Everyone was filled with anger. The officer led 5 soldiers to jump off the helicopter, but each of them held a gun and looked at each other warily. Do you still want to use your gun? 3F, take away their guns. Tang Zheng shouted. A few of the witch tribesmen seemed to have springs under their feet as they immediately jumped into the group of soldiers. Before the other party even had the time to pull the trigger, they had already seized their guns. The soldiers' faces were ashen. They were also elite soldiers in the army, but in front of these unarmed people, they didn't have the slightest ability to resist. There's another person inside. Get him out. Tang Jing locked onto Lu Ming, who was hiding in the corner of the cabin, and shouted. As a result, Lu Ming was dragged out like a dead dog. The witch tribe people recognized him and guessed that he must have told them about the whereabouts of the witch tribe, which was why they were attacked. Therefore no one was polite to him. Seeing that he was not cooperating, they directly punched him in the stomach. He immediately vomited, bent his body, and curled up on the ground like a shrimp. He was in a sorry state. Lu Ming, we meet again. You're really good at attracting so many people. Tang Jing knew that the other party was deliberately targeting him. He must have added fuel to the fire this time. Lu Ming kept quiet out of fear and said while trembling, Tang Jing, this is not my fault, I was forced, I don't want to be your enemy. Tang Jing coldly snorted, he was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, and directly turned to stare at the 6 soldiers. Chapter 430. A few of the soldiers were obviously much more unyielding than Lu Ming. Although their faces were still pale, they did not cower and beg for mercy. The leading officer said, What do you want? Tang Jing coldly snorted and said, I still want to ask you, what exactly do you want? We have been ordered to bring back all of you from the witch clan as well as you, Tang Jing. The officer said truthfully. Oh, what are you bringing us back for? Of course it's to be investigated. After so many years, the witch clan has reappeared in the world. It's impossible for the country to ignore them. Obviously, Lu Ming had already reported the matter of the witch clan being the descendants of Qiyu to his superiors. Although the cultivators had already been expelled, the country naturally knew that there were many cultivators in the long history of Wuxia. They also knew how powerful the cultivators were, which was why they had mobilized so many people when they found out about the appearance of the witch clan. We won't accept any investigation. Don't be delusional. Yi Yuan impatiently refused and roared. Yuan, don't speak nonsense. Listen to the orders of the Lord Envoy. The witch clan elder immediately reprimanded. Yi Yuan secretly snorted and looked at Tang Jing. The military also looked at Tang Jing. Originally, when they heard Lu Ming's report that the witch clan were all under Tang Jing's orders, many people were still suspicious and did not believe it. Now, it seemed that the news was not fake. This fort, Tang Jing really had such a high prestige. The officer could not help but look at him curiously, guessing what kind of ability he had to be able to subdue such a mysterious tribe. Everyone looked at Tang Jing only to see him think for a while, then say, The witch clan will not accept the investigation. No matter who comes, it will be impossible for them to do this. Tang Jing still did not know what the official attitude was towards the appearance of the witch clan, but he did not want the witch clan to become Xiao Bai's mice and be investigated and studied by others, and even more so, he could not let the witch clan lose their freedom. Therefore, his unyielding attitude had to be expressed first, letting others know that they were not dough that could be kneaded at will. The officer widened his eyes in surprise and said, Do you want to go against the country? I am from Wuxia. Of course, I don't want to go against the country, but the people of the witch tribe trust me. I have the responsibility to protect their safety and not let them get hurt. Tang Jing said. But the witch clan is not an ordinary person. They are a powerful force. The authorities will definitely not allow such an uncontrollable force to exist in this world. The officer said resolutely. Ah. Hearing this, Tang Jing laughed mockingly. Uncontrollable power, then the martial organization, the Li Palace, and even the Azure Dragon Palace, could it be controlled? Tang Jing could believe that these 3 mysterious organizations were definitely uncontrollable, but the officials swore that the witch tribe was uncontrollable. That was because they thought that the witch tribe was easy to bully. Otherwise, why didn't the officials find trouble with these 3 organizations? The other party stared blankly. Obviously, with his level, he did not know about the 3 great organizations. Your level is not high enough. Report to your superiors and tell them that it is impossible to control or threaten the witch tribe. If they want to negotiate, we can sit down and have a good talk. Tang Jing said coldly. Tang Jing had long expected the officials to take action, but he did not expect them to come so quickly. Since they were here, then he would settle the matter of the witch tribe once and for all. Of course, it was not appropriate to keep fighting and killing. Then he would display his strength and then sit at the negotiating table to negotiate and reach a condition that both sides could accept. You're not going to kill us? The military asked in surprise. I'm not a murderous demon. I don't like to kill people. Tang Jing said. The other party heaved a sigh of relief. Even Lu Ming, who was so nervous that he could not breathe, had a look of joy on his face. He quickly said, Tang Jing, don't worry, we will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. However, you can avoid death but you can't escape punishment. You repaid kindness with enmity and destroyed the homeland of the witch tribe. Lu Ming, obediently accept your punishment. Tang Jing shouted loudly, reaching out his hand and grabbing Lu Ming. Lu Ming immediately cried out miserably, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I won't dare to do it again. If I believe you, even a pig can climb a tree. Last time, the witch tribe saved your life from the hands of the demon god, but you didn't know how to be grateful and repaid kindness with enmity. This time, I'll let you know the consequences of repaying kindness with enmity." Tang Jing shouted loudly. Then, with a kacha, Lu Ming's arms twisted like fried dough twists. A heart-wrenching scream pierced through the sky. The witch tribe said with great hatred, "Letting this kind of person go so easily is really letting him off easy. With my temper, I can't wait to break his neck." The soldiers looked at each other but no one dared to make a move. The screams came to an abrupt end. Lu Ming had already fainted from the pain. At this moment, more witch tribesmen walked out of the forest. "Lord Envoy, we have captured the prisoners." Dozens of soldiers were being pushed forward while staggering. They were in a sorry state and there were even signs of smoke and fire on their faces. Obviously, these soldiers were the ones who had just escaped from the plane. Because of the dense and tall forest, even if the plane crashed, these people were lucky enough to survive. When the officer saw that his subordinates had survived, he was extremely excited. He wanted to rush over but was stopped, but he still waved his hand and shouted, "God bless you, it's great that you're all fine. Everyone, don't worry, you will definitely return safely." Tang Jing sneered, "As long as you don't play any tricks, I guarantee that you will be able to leave this place alive." The officer hesitated for a moment, then said, "I promise we will definitely cooperate. However, if we are trapped here for a long time, and the outside world does not know about this, they will definitely send reinforcements. I can let you go back alone to report my words, but if you dare to play any tricks, your companions won't be able to survive." Tang Jing threatened. The officer hurriedly nodded, "Don't worry, I will definitely not play any tricks and report the truth. Take them all down and watch over them. Also take him out." Tang Jing gave the order, and immediately, the witch tribesmen separated the two sides and took them away. "Lord Envoy, what should we do next?" the witch tribe elder asked worriedly. "Before the other party can react, our large army will first leave this place and hide," Tang Jing said. Tian Chanzi curled his lips and said, "There's no need to go through so much trouble. Whoever dares to harm the witch tribe, just kill them." Obviously, Tian Chanzi believed in strength more than anything else. As for the officials, he did not even put them in his eyes. However, Tang Jing was a modern person, so it was impossible for him to have such a concept. He still adopted a safe strategy and explained, "Wouldn't it be more perfect if we could solve the problem without fighting and killing? In any case, the witch tribe will listen to your orders. Whatever you say will be done." Tian Chanzi shrugged his shoulders indifferently. "I'll have to trouble you with this matter. I'll go meet with the officials. You take these people and hide." Tang Jing already had an idea. "Hide where?" Tang Jing glanced at Wu, leaned close to Tian Chanzi's ear and whispered, "Go abroad, not far from here is the border, there are small countries over there, it's easier to gain a foothold, even if the officials want to do something, it's too far away." Tian Chanzi looked at him with interest and chuckled, "You're not stupid, this plan is not bad. As long as we occupy a place, we can attack and retreat, and the officials might not be able to do anything to us." There were many small countries in the southwest border. Although their territories were not large, they were still legitimate regimes. The people of the witch tribe could ignore international regulations and enter these countries to establish their own positions. If the Wuxia officials wanted to carry out cross-border operations, it would not be that easy. With such a mysterious external force as support, Tang Jing would have more bargaining chips in the negotiations. "There's no time to lose. Pack up and leave immediately," Tang Jing decided to say. The witch tribe did not have any objections. They absolutely believed in Tang Jing, so they quickly packed up. However, most of their belongings were destroyed in the flames of war, so there was not much to pack up. Many people gathered in the ruins of the plaza and stared blankly at the ruins beneath their feet. This plaza was extremely important to the shaman tribe, but now it was destroyed. Now it was time to leave, and many people could not help but cry. "Lord Envoy, come and take a look." "What is this?" Suddenly, a cry of alarm came from the crowd, and many of the witch tribe people surrounded him. "What?" Tang Jing and the others walked over, only to see that a small piece of the ruins in front of them had been cleared out, revealing a white object. How could there be something white under the plaza? A question mark surfaced in Tang Zheng's mind. Clean up all the ruins. The witch tribe elder ordered. Thus, the witch tribe people quickly took action. Not long later, all the ruins in the plaza were completely cleaned up, revealing a layer of white below. The witch tribesmen all widened their eyes in confusion. What was this? The witch tribe elder was also confused. He had lived for so many years, but he had never heard of these things being buried under the plaza. These things were like jasper, pure white and flawless. Furthermore, there were traces of power rippling out from them. It was obvious that they were not ordinary things. If not for the fact that the plaza had been indiscriminately bombed, these things would have been covered in dust. Tian Chanzi also looked at these white things curiously. He squatted down and gently rubbed them. With a bit of strength in his hand, a piece of it flew up and floated in the air without any support. Ah! The crowd cried out in alarm. This is too magical. These things were in the shape of long strips. One of them was 2 meters wide and had a silver-white luster, as if it had divine power. Wu stared at this scene with his mouth agape. Once again he witnessed the miraculous nature of the cultivation world. Tian Chanzi squinted his eyes, but after a while he shook his head and said in disappointment, I have never seen this kind of thing before. This material seems to be very special. Tang Jing, what do you think? Tang Jing stared blankly at the stone. A piece of information suddenly appeared in his heart, a piece of information regarding this mysterious thing. Chapter 431. Seeing that Tang Jing did not say a word and had a strange expression, the others could not help but look over. Tian Chanzi asked, Brat, what's wrong? Tang Jing opened his mouth and exclaimed, Heaven and earth black stone, these are all heaven and earth black stone. Heaven and earth black stone. Tian Chanzi and Yi Yuan exclaimed at the same time, You said that these are the cornerstones of the heaven stairway, heaven and earth black stone. The two of them were extremely excited, especially Tian Chanzi, whose eyes were filled with ecstasy. The 100-change Star Lord had once said that the cornerstones of the heaven stairway were scattered in every corner of the world, but he never thought that there would be so many of them buried under the plaza of the witch tribe. Tian Chanzi looked at the snow-white heaven and earth black stone with a burning gaze. With a forceful cry, the other heaven and earth black stone floated up. Aha, I can't find anything even if I wear out my iron shoes. Tian Chanzi could not hide his ecstasy and laughed out loud. Wu looked at the floating heaven and earth black stone blankly. He did not understand what it was, but without a doubt it was extremely important. Let me count how many there are. 1, 2, 3. 30. Why is there only 30? Tian Chanzi's expression darkened. The construction of the heaven stairway required a total of 99 pieces of heaven and earth black stone. This was only 33 pieces, far from enough. Tang Jing, how did you recognize them? Heaven Monk asked curiously. He had lived for over 1,000 years more than Tang Jing, but he still could not recognize him. It was truly strange that he could recognize him with a single glance. When the others heard this, they all looked at him without blinking. Tang Jing's heart was at a loss. This was the same as when he saw the restriction on Buzhou Mountain that had suddenly appeared. It was completely natural and came from the bottom of his heart, as if this information had long been stored in the bottom of his heart and burst out when it was stimulated. Suddenly, his heart stirred as he recalled the heart he had obtained by chance in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. His heart had been replaced by that heart, and then this series of inconceivable things had happened. Could it be that this was all because of that heart? He subconsciously touched his chest. He could clearly feel the strong beating of his heart. It was no different from his original heart. This heart had completely merged with his body. Tian Chanzi, Elder Yi Yuan, go over there. I have something to tell you. Tang Jing said with a serious expression. The three of them looked at him suspiciously and walked to the side under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Wu had an idea and wanted to follow them, but was stopped by the people of the Witch clan. Lord Envoy, what happened? The Witch clan elder asked with concern. Something strange happened to me. Tian Chanzi, weren't you curious about how I knew it was the heaven and earth obsidian? I suspect that it has something to do with something that happened to me. Tang Jing explained the matter of the mysterious heart. Immediately, Tian Chanzi was dumbstruck, and looked at Tang Jing from head to toe as if he had seen a ghost. The Witch clan elder, on the other hand, was obviously much calmer. It was as if in his eyes, anything unimaginable that happened to the Lord Envoy was normal. What is the mysterious origin of that mysterious heart? I have never heard of such a thing. After a long while, Heaven Monk finally reacted and exclaimed. Tang Jing laughed bitterly. If I really knew where it came from, then it would be simple. I suspect that the information is hidden in this heart, that's why I know so much. Tianquanzi nodded his head. I think it's extremely likely that this is the case. Lord Envoy, in the past, I heard of this situation from the elders of the Witch clan. In the ancient era, there were some supreme experts who could cultivate to the point where their bodies were indestructible. As long as there was a chance of survival, they could survive. In the ancient era, there were indeed many supreme experts with many shocking abilities, but I have never heard of a heart devouring another person's heart. Tianquanzi said. You guys are saying that this heart must have been the heart of a very powerful person. It's just that after this person died, this heart did not die, and I coincidentally fused with this heart, right? Tang Jing asked. The three of them thought for a moment, then nodded at the same time. Then who was the original owner of this heart? Tang Jing asked in anticipation. Tianquanzi rolled his eyes and said, Prehistoric heavenly tomb is the battlefield ruins of the Battle of Zhuolu. Who knows how many powerful people from that era are buried here? How can we guess whose heart it is? Tang Jing secretly sighed, knowing that what Tianquanzi said was true. It was too difficult to find an answer. Yi Yuan, who had been silent the entire time, rolled his eyes and said with a flash of inspiration, Who was the most powerful person who sacrificed himself in the Battle of Zhuolu? Of course it's Qiyu. He died in battle and the Nine Li race fell apart. Tang Jing suddenly stopped as he spoke, his eyes becoming abnormally bright, and exclaimed, Yi Yuan, are you saying that this mysterious heart might be Qiyu's heart? Yi Yuan scratched his head and said embarrassedly, I was just guessing. Wasn't Qiyu the most powerful person who sacrificed himself in the Battle of Zhuolu? Maybe it was his heart. Tianquanzi and the Witch clan elders stared fixedly at Tang Jing's chest. Tianquanzi's expression was a little strange and he chuckled, If you really inherited Qiyu's heart, then it's not a bad thing. Qiyu is a fully deserving ancient supreme expert, it's not a bad thing for you to inherit his heart. Furthermore, Qiyu is also a Skywalker, and you are also a Skywalker, isn't this just a coincidence? The Witch clan elder was overjoyed and said excitedly, Congratulations Lord Envoy, I am sure that the heart is Qiyu's heart, this is the will of the heavens, for our Witch clan to be under your command. Maybe this was Qiyu's arrangement back then. I finally understand why the Witch clan was trapped in the 10,000 huge mountains for so many years. All of this was to wait for you, Lord Envoy. The more the Witch clan elder spoke, the more excited he became. In the end he was so excited that he could not speak. Tang Jing and Tianquanzi were silent. Although this was the Witch clan elder's wishful thinking, it was indeed very close to the truth. Qiyu had spent a lot of effort to trap the Witch clan here, and then only the Nine-Yang holy body, which was the Skywalker, could undo the Witch clan's restrictions. Could it really be like this? Tang Jing could not find anyone to answer his question, but he already believed 70 to 80% of it in his heart. He actually possessed Qiyu's heart, this was too miraculous. He did not know what other strange things this Qiyu's heart would have, but he could only slowly explore it in the future. This is definitely a good thing, but you won't be able to figure it out in a short period of time, so let's deal with the Heaven and Earth Black Stone first. Tianquanzi urged. The Witch clan elder had long heard about the Heaven and Earth Black Stone from Qiyu, and said without hesitation, This Heaven and Earth Black Stone was definitely left behind by Qiyu for Lord Envoy, so of course it belongs to Lord Envoy. Tianquanzi's expression was a little strange. He urgently wanted to gather all 99 pieces of Heaven and Earth Black Stone and rebuild the Heaven Stairway. Seeing these 30 pieces of Heaven and Earth Black Stone, of course he wanted to take them for himself. However, after hearing the Witch clan elder's preemptive words, he was too embarrassed to do so. This was something that belonged to the Witch clan, he couldn't possibly take it for himself. Tang Jing also thought a lot, the Heaven and Earth Black Stone was related to the return of the Cultivator, so he could not be careless. Seeing Tianquanzi's expression, he could guess 70 to 80% of his thoughts and said, We only have 30 pieces and are still far from 99 pieces, so leave it with me first. Tianquanzi could not refute him and said resentfully, That's good too, you collect it first, you must not lose it, this thing is not easy to find, the other 69 pieces need to be found quickly, this way we can rebuild the Heaven Stairway as soon as possible. The few of them walked back, Tang Jing casually waved his hand, and the 30 pieces of Heaven and Earth Black Stone were stored in his sumaru pouch. Wu Ji looked at him with a strange expression. She could not guess what the few of them were muttering to each other for a long time, but she remembered the name Heaven and Earth Black Stone. There's no time to lose. Everyone, let's move out now. Heaven Monk, Elder, Yi Yuan, you guys bring all the clansmen and Thundercloud Beast and leave first. Cross the border and find a place to stay. When Tian Chanzi saw the heaven and earth black stone, it was as if he had regained his fighting spirit. He said in high spirits, "Don't worry, I will definitely settle them down. You should also be careful, the authorities are not kind people. If the other party is too difficult to deal with, just directly kill them." Now Tian Chanzi had 4 symbols Venerable S and Xiao Bai's help. Ordinary people were not his match. As long as they did not meet a heaven-defying existence like the 100 Transformation Star Lord, they would definitely be able to keep their lives. Gigi. Xiao Bai caressed the Thundercloud Beast, pouting her small mouth, reluctant to part with it. The Thundercloud Beast seemed to have gotten used to its existence, tilting its head and enjoying its caress. "Thundercloud Beast, you are not weak. If there is any danger, I will have to trouble you to protect everyone," Tian Chanzi warned. The Thundercloud Beast nodded. Ever since it left the prehistoric heavenly tomb, the resentment in its heart had obviously lessened by a lot. It seemed to have accepted its fate and was willing to submit to Xiao Bai and Tang Zheng's tyrannical might. The witch clansmen packed their bags and turned their heads 3 times with each step. They reluctantly left the home that they had lived in for most of their lives. Tang Zheng stopped and looked into the distance, only retracting his gaze when everyone had disappeared into the forest. "Now that your helpers are gone, how are you going to negotiate with the authorities?" Wu asked curiously. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised and said, "The negotiation does not require a lot of people, so you do not need to worry about this matter. We are going to set off as well. Let those people out, we are going to set off as well." Wu snorted and said, "She is now Tang Zheng's captive, so she has become a coolie and is in charge of escorting all the captured soldiers." When these soldiers were released from the house, they all looked at Tang Zheng with complicated expressions. Their lives and deaths were all in Tang Zheng's hands. Especially Lu Ming, although his arm had been twisted into a fried dough twist by Tang Zheng, after a simple application of medicine, the pain had stopped, but he did not dare to look at Tang Zheng again. He hid far away in the crowd as if he was really afraid that Tang Zheng would break him. "Let's go." Tang Zheng shouted loudly and everyone walked into the dense forest, heading out of the forest. After a few days of trekking they crossed a few swamps, but fortunately they did not encounter any miasma, and arrived at the edge of the 10,000 huge mountains. Chapter 432. The hidden killing intent, as well as the eyes peeking from the surrounding trees, Tang Zheng's nerves immediately tensed up. Xiao Bai, who was on his shoulder, also pricked up his ears and bared his teeth at the surroundings. Marshall's expression was relaxed as he ridiculed, "They have prepared an inescapable net. You are just walking right into it." Tang Zheng said calmly, "It seems that the officer has already brought the news and prepared such a big welcome for me." After pausing for a moment, he said to the soldiers walking in front, "Don't stop, keep walking out." These people had obviously discovered their companions lurking around them and walked out without saying a word. The sun suddenly shone down from the sky. Everyone walked out of the 10,000 mountains. In front of them were densely packed soldiers armed with live ammunition. The muzzles of their guns were completely aimed at them. A rustling sound came from behind, and a pair of soldiers came out from behind, flanking the front and back, completely surrounding Tang Zheng and the others in the center. "Halt!" A loud shout rang out as a person walked down from the military vehicle. Tang Zheng looked from afar and saw that it was an officer with the rank of Major General. Beside him were 2 familiar people. His instructor during military training, Su Hongwu, and Regiment Commander Kai Guibin. Both of them had grave expressions as they looked at Tang Zheng from afar. This Major General stood there with a golden blade and stared at Tang Zheng from afar. He looked up and down as if he wanted to see through him. "You are Tang Zheng?" the Major General asked. "That's me. Can you be in charge here?" Tang Zheng asked calmly. Kai Guibin quickly introduced, "Tang Zheng, this is Major General Xing Feng of the Dianan military region. He is the person in charge of this matter." "Oh, since you are the person in charge, then we can talk." "Humph, you still want to talk? You destroyed my helicopter and injured my soldiers. What else is there to talk about?" Xing Feng said angrily. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth rose and said, "It is precisely because I have done this that we should talk." Xing Feng fell silent. "Arrest him. How dare he be so arrogant in front of me? He doesn't know the difference between life and death." Suddenly Xing Feng exploded. Soldiers from all directions rushed over, aiming their guns at Tang Zheng. If you dare to move, shoot immediately, Tang Jing said. The smile on Tang Jing's face became wider and wider. Marshall looked at him with interest, not knowing how he would react. Seeing that the soldiers were about to surround them, Tang Jing waved his hand. With a loud rumble, a huge creature appeared in front of everyone. Everyone's movements subconsciously paused for a moment. At this time, Tang Jing leaped onto the giant's body and disappeared into its body. The four symbols venerable. Tang Jing summoned a four symbols venerable. Against so many guns, he still wanted to be safe. He used the four symbols venerable to block the bullets. No bullets could hurt him. In the face of this behemoth, everyone became like ants. They widened their eyes in fear and someone screamed, "Monster!" Da-da-da. Bullets whizzed out, filling the sky with bullets as they shot towards the four symbols venerable, but they did not leave any marks on its body. Xing Feng and the other officers were already dumbstruck. They were soldiers and had seen many high-tech weapons, but they had never seen such a mysterious thing. Marshall sighed. With this big guy, Tang Jing would at least be in an invincible position. Bang! The four symbols venerable moved. He raised his foot and stomped down. With a loud rumble, a military vehicle was turned into slag. The others scattered in all directions, forgetting themselves to pull the trigger. "Are you still not going to stop?" Tang Jing's voice came out as he walked towards Xing Feng with large strides. The ground trembled with his footsteps, and an earth-shattering aura made people's hearts almost stop beating. "Can we talk now?" The four symbols venerable looked down and asked. "Sure." Xing Feng held it in for a long time before finally squeezing out two words from between his teeth. He had already realized that his men could not harm the other party at all. "All right, then let's have a good talk," Tang Jing said in satisfaction, but just as he finished speaking, a roar came from the forest. Then the earth seemed to tremble and loud footsteps came from the forest. "What's going on? Are there more monsters?" Many people's faces turned pale as they looked at the forest in shock. Tang Jing frowned. He also turned his head to look, only to see that many trees in the forest had been broken, and the loud footsteps were getting closer and closer. Brr. With a furious roar, dust rose in all directions. Many soldiers hidden in the forest flew out one after another, clearly under attack. Boom, boom, boom. Finally, the thing in the dust revealed its true body. Tang Jing subconsciously shouted, "Demonic beasts!" He immediately recognized that these were the demonic beasts that had escaped from the Forbidden Grounds. Back then, something had happened in the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and these demonic beasts had scattered in all directions, rushing out of the Forbidden Grounds and disappearing into the 10,000 huge mountains. Obviously, these demonic beasts were randomly running around in the 10,000 huge mountains, and the dozen or so demonic beasts in front of him had actually charged to the edge of the 10,000 huge mountains. "Monster, monster!" The soldier was so scared that he screamed and ran away. He kept pulling the trigger, but this time he was aiming at these demonic beasts. The demonic beasts were not as invulnerable as the four symbols venerables. These were also flesh and blood, but their skin was thicker and some bullets could not harm their lives. However, these bullets had truly angered them. The demonic beasts' bodies were extremely tall compared to humans. A demonic beast directly charged into the group, and many people were directly sent flying into the sky. Some people were even directly smashed into meat patties. "Retreat, quickly retreat." Xing Feng's face turned pale. These dozen or so demonic beasts were like gods of death. In a hurry, they had no way to contend against them. "Fire, fire!" Xing Feng roared, and the tank hidden in the distance shot out a cannonball, hitting a demonic beast. Boom! The demonic beast was instantly torn into pieces, turning into a rain of blood that filled the sky. However, this still did not scare the demonic beasts away, completely arousing their ferocity. Roars rose and fell one after another, and people continued to fall. "I can't let you be so unscrupulous." Tang Jing roared and intercepted a demonic beast. He grabbed the beast's head and smashed it with a punch. With a scream, the demonic beast's head was directly smashed into meat patties. Squeak! Xiaobai was not willing to fall behind. He leaped and spat out flames at a demonic beast that was rampaging. The demonic beast immediately turned into a fireball and fell to the ground with a scream. When the others saw Tang Zhang and Xiaobai taking action, they took the opportunity to retreat. The tank in the distance opened fire again, tearing another demonic beast apart. However, the demonic beasts were very fast and it was not easy for the tank to lock onto them. A few more cannonballs were wasted and no more demonic beasts were hit. This turned into an exhibition match between Tang Zhang and Xiaobai. Both sides cooperated very tacitly, forming a strong defensive line with the momentum of one man holding back 10,000 men. After a while, a few more demonic beast corpses were left behind. The remaining demonic beasts finally felt fear and turned around to flee into the 100,000 mountains. Tang Zheng and Xiao Bai did not chase after them. They watched as they left. However, the battlefield was already stained with the smell of blood. The demonic beast corpses were scattered all over the ground. Everyone stared blankly at Tang Zheng and Xiao Bai. Many people who thought of Xiao Bai as a puppy immediately shrunk their necks in fear. Tang Zheng walked toward Xing Feng. Xing Feng was so scared that his face turned pale. He hurriedly retreated and shouted, "What are you doing? Tell your men to stop wasting bullets and cannonballs. They are useless against me." Tang Zheng was not sure if the tank's cannonballs could destroy the demonic beasts. However, there was only one tank. He was confident that he could escape from the enemy's lock. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not have the intention to start a massacre and had even helped them chase away the demonic beasts, everyone's hostility towards him clearly decreased. "What was that just now?" Xing Feng asked with lingering fear. Kai Guibin was the first to speak. "Could those be demonic beasts too?" Back then, Kai Guibin had brought back the Rockefeller family's werewolf corpse for research. He was clearly no stranger to demonic beasts. Yes, those were demonic beasts. However, they were much more powerful than the werewolf. Tang Zheng was not sure if there were any super demonic beasts that had escaped from the forbidden area. However, there were many ordinary demonic beasts that were much stronger than the werewolf. Therefore, as long as a demonic beast escaped from the 100,000 mountains, it would definitely cause quite a stir. Kai Guibin immediately frowned. He ordered, "Quickly collect the corpses of these demonic beasts and send them to the capital immediately." Although Xing Feng's rank was much higher than Kai Guibin's, Kai Guibin was still someone sent from the capital. He could not stop him. However, he already had a direct impression of these huge creatures. He casually asked, "Captain Kai, do the higher-ups know about these demonic beasts?" Kai Guibin nodded his head heavily. "This is a very important source of research. Actually, according to the experts, it would be best to capture a few live demonic beasts. This would be more beneficial for research." "Catch it alive." Xing Feng immediately looked towards the forest and then asked Tang Zheng, "How many demonic beasts are there?" "A lot." Tang Zheng remembered that he had killed so many demonic beasts in the forbidden area that his hands had gone soft, so he was not sure how many there were. "How many are there?" Xing Feng asked with an ugly expression. "How would I know? You can go and see for yourself," Tang Zheng said snappily. The prehistoric heavenly tomb had already collapsed, but he was not sure what it looked like. However, the 100 Transformation Star Lord was still in the 100,000 mountains, so he would not take the risk to sneak back and investigate. Otherwise, if the 100 Transformation Star Lord discovered him, he would be like a sheep in a tiger's den. "Of course I will go and see it clearly," Xing Feng said. "Let me give you a piece of advice. Right now, the 100,000 mountains is even more dangerous than before. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life," Tang Zheng reminded him. In the past, there were only ordinary beasts, swamps and miasma in the 100,000 mountains. But now, there were many different types of demonic beasts. "I have my own ideas. I don't need you to tell me what to do," Xing Feng said. Chapter 433. The mighty convoy drove directly to the military district on the edge of Dianan City. Once again they saw rows upon rows of tall buildings. Tang Zheng said that he would once again be in the real world. This time, his identity had been exposed, so the trouble that would follow would definitely not be small. At the negotiating table, both sides sat down. Marshall sat beside Tang Zheng, facing the military people, while Kai Guibin looked at her thoughtfully. The two of them had worked together before, so he was naturally not unfamiliar with Marshall. Although he did not know where the other party came from, it was really strange that she would be together with Tang Zheng. Where did the witch clan go? Xing Feng went straight to the point. This was the most important thing. According to the intelligence, this was an extremely powerful force. Tang Zheng said with a straight face, "No comment." "What, this is just the beginning? If you don't cooperate, then there's no way to talk," Xing Feng said angrily. "Since you have nothing to say, then I'll say it first. You are not allowed to track the whereabouts of the witch clan. In addition, I can tell you one thing, I am not a threat to you," Tang Zheng said solemnly. If you're not a threat, then who is?" After seeing Tang Zheng's strength, Xing Feng was even more certain that Tang Zheng was a huge unstable factor. Hearing this, Tang Jing smiled but did not say anything. Kai Guibin saw that the atmosphere was tense and interrupted. Since we've sat down, it means that both of our intentions are good. We can definitely find a balance. Tang Jing, we have known each other for a long time. To be honest, when I first saw you during the military training, I really did not expect that there would be a day like this. You are the person who has surprised me the most in my life. Tang Jing still had a good impression of Kai Guibin and said, Commander Kai and I have known each other for a long time, so you should understand that I am not scared. So since we have sat down to talk, then don't be arrogant. Otherwise it will be good for both of us. You, Xing Feng placed both hands on the table, his veins popping out. Kai Guibin hurriedly advised, Major General Xing, calm down. Tang Jing is young and impetuous, so please bear with him. Actually, I think he's right. Since we've sat down, let's talk calmly. Xing Feng glanced at Kai Guibin, snorted, and acquiesced. Tang Jing, you should know that the government will not allow such a powerful force like the Witch Tribe to exist. This is to ensure the safety of the country, Kai Guibin said earnestly. But the Witch Tribe is definitely not a threat to national security, Tang Jing said firmly. Kai Guibin smiled and said, After all, this matter is of great importance. It's not something that can be dispelled with just a few words. Then there's no other way. In any case, I've already given you my promise. Whether you believe me or not is up to you. Tang Jing shrugged and said indifferently. Xing Feng was about to flare up again, but he was restrained by Kai Guibin. Kai Guibin muttered, Tang Jing, you're making it impossible for us to report back to our superiors. You want to report back, right? I have lived in this country for so many years. My feelings for this country are not weaker than yours. Don't force me to wear away these feelings. Tang Jing said, Actually, I'm not a big threat. The real threat is not me. I have lived in this country for so many years. My feelings for this country are not weaker than yours. We can feel your sincerity. However, according to your words, there is still a real threat. What is it? Kai Guibin asked curiously. The others also stretched their necks, but Wu Ji had already guessed a few things. A powerful cultivator has appeared in the 10,000 mountains called the 100 Transformation Star Lord. This person's strength far surpasses mine. I think he is probably the strongest person in the world. This person is temperamental and crazy. I can't predict what he will do, so he is the real threat. Tang Jing said. 100 Transformation Star Lord, far surpassing you? The people on the other side were completely stunned. Tang Jing's strength was already considered shocking in their eyes, but this person far surpassed him. How terrifying was that? This had already exceeded the limits of their imagination. The expressions of the few of them instantly became extremely solemn, and their foreheads twisted into a Chuan character. Kai Guibin looked at Marshall in disbelief. Marshall understood and nodded. Tang Jing is not lying. This 100 Transformation Star Lord is indeed a very powerful super expert. Actually, she was still worried about the sect master's safety. She didn't know how the battle with the 100 Transformation Star Lord was going. Hearing Marshall's words, Kai Guibin's heart sank to the bottom, and said, This is an extremely important piece of information. Where is this 100 Transformation Star Lord now? He should still be in the 10,000 mountains. We'll send people to look for him immediately. Kai Guibin said decisively. The 10,000 mountains is extremely dangerous. Tang Jing reminded. Xing Feng snorted coldly and said, We soldiers are not afraid of danger. Since this person is a huge threat, we must eliminate him. Tang Jing advised, Let me give you a piece of advice. If you meet him, it would be best for you to hide far away. Otherwise, the ones who will suffer will definitely be yourselves. Xing Feng said disapprovingly, Don't think that just because you cultivators know magic and have outstanding strength, you can look down on others and think that I am the best in the world. Let me tell you, this is a technological society. No matter how powerful you are, there are still ways to eliminate you. There was a hint of threat in his words. Tang Jing did not mind. Of course he understood this logic. There was a limit to human strength. With Tang Jing's current cultivation, bullets or ordinary cannonballs could not kill him, but what about missiles with greater destructive power or even nuclear bombs? Not only did Tang Jing assert that, he would also not use his own life to test it out. However, his aura did not decrease as he said, Since that's the case, then you guys can go and meet this 100 Transformation Star Lord. He thought to himself that if you guys really killed the 100 Transformation Star Lord, then you would have helped me get rid of a potential threat. I've already said what I need to say. Make a decision. Tang Jing leaned back in his chair and said. Kai Guibin and Xing Feng looked at each other, and Kai Guibin said, Tang Zheng, since you are familiar with this 100 transformation Star Lord, then help us find him. Tang Zheng waved his hand without hesitation, thinking to himself that it was not easy for me to get rid of him, and now I'm going to walk right into his trap. I'm not a fool. No, I won't look for him. I've already said that it's not a good thing to find him. Seeing that Tang Zheng was determined, Kai Guibin did not mind and said, Then what do you plan to do in the future? I'm a student, so of course I'm going back to school. Tang Zheng said matter-of-factly. Go to school? Xing Feng looked at him in surprise. You're going to school? According to his understanding, with Tang Zheng's current strength and the fact that he controlled a force like the Witch Clan, he was young and full of vigor, so he definitely wanted to do something great. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, I'm a student of Yenqing University, of course I have to go to school. I don't want to delay my studies. Tang Zheng, last time you did very well in the martial arts assembly, you had a lot of positive energy. As the saying goes, the greater a person's strength, the greater their responsibility. If you work in our army, we will definitely not treat you unfairly, and will let you show off your ambitions. The military camp is a great melting pot and it is a good place for brave people. Not only you but also the people of the Witch tribe can join the army and train to become stronger. Kai Guibin had an idea and tried to persuade him earnestly. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment. He did not expect the other party to actually make such a request, but in the next moment he rejected this idea. The people of the Witch clan lived in the 10,000 huge mountains all year round and did not have any contact with outsiders. Their temperament was relatively simple, and if they were really recruited by the military, after a round of brainwashing and education, Tang Zheng was very worried about what would happen. It was very possible that he would target Tang Zheng in the future, so of course he could not allow this to happen. Regardless of whether Kai Guibin's suggestion was out of good intentions or had some hidden motive, he would definitely not agree. Thank you for your kind intentions. I like freedom and so do the people of the Witch clan. The military camp is not suitable for us. Tang Zheng said. Kai Guibin was slightly disappointed. He forced out a smile and said, Then that's a pity. If there's nothing else, then I won't accompany you. Tang Zheng stood up and walked out of the door, Wu Yi following closely behind. Along the way Tang Zheng did not slack off. This was the military camp, and there were many guns aimed at him in the dark, so he was always on guard against possible attacks. In the office, Xing Feng frowned and asked suspiciously, You're letting him go just like that? In my military camp, I have a 90% chance of keeping him here. Say haha, maybe you can do it. Kai Guibin smiled noncommittally. What's the use of keeping him? If you don't cooperate, then kill him. Xing Feng's killing intent soared. Killing him is really poking a hornet's nest. Do you know how powerful those Witch clan are? Not to mention the Witch clan, he also has a master who is even more mysterious and powerful. Killing him and provoking these people is definitely not a wise move. Kai Guibin said seriously. Xing Feng suddenly realized that in Dianan, he still did not know as much as the other party in the capital. No wonder the higher-ups sent him down to help. This is where Tang Zheng is smart. Although you see that he only has 2 people and dares to come to meet us alone, in fact he has already hidden his trump card so that we don't dare to touch him. This person is not simple. Kai Guibin praised. Since he is not simple, then shouldn't we find ways to get rid of him as soon as possible? Xing Feng said. We have observed Tang Zheng for a long time. He is not a heartless person. As he said, he also has feelings for this country. Unless it is absolutely necessary, he will not take risks and stand on the opposite side of us. We can't force him to that point, so it is most appropriate to stabilize him first. As for the Witch clan, if I guess correctly, they should not be in our country anymore. Such a powerful force, hidden in the small countries in the south as a backing, to make us hesitate to attack. This is the best strategy. If Tang Zheng heard Kai Guibin's remarks, he would definitely be surprised and give a thumbs up. Although the 2 sides had only met a few times, Kai Guibin already knew Tang Zheng quite well. Chapter 434. Tang Zheng and Wu walked out of the barracks safely and arrived at the city of Dianan. You can leave now, Tang Zheng said to Wu. Back then, in order to prevent Wu from looking for the martial sect leader, he had controlled her. Now that he had brought her out of the 10,000 huge mountains, he had done his best. Wu looked at him in surprise and asked, You're letting me go just like that? What else do you want? Tang Zheng asked back. Wu bit her lips. Her slender figure bathed in the sunlight was exceptionally eye-catching. Many passers-by couldn't help but secretly size her up. You want to chase me away now? It's not that simple. Wu hesitated for a moment before saying. Tang Jing rolled his eyes. What was wrong with this woman? In the past she couldn't wait to leave him, but now she wanted to follow him. Could it be that she was suffering from Stockholm Syndrome? That's not right, I don't have that much charm. Tang Jing looked at her suspiciously. Wu raised his head and frankly looked at him in the eyes. In fact, Wu had been weighing the pros and cons in her heart for a long time. The safety of the sect master was no longer something she could control, and Tang Jing's performance was becoming more and more extraordinary. Furthermore, he had a close relationship with the martial sect, and was most likely the son of the sect master. Plus or minus Wu, therefore she wanted to stay by his side and understand him in more detail. This was extremely important to the martial sect and the sect master. What exactly do you want? Wherever you go, I'll go. Alright then, come. Tang Jing walked straight into a magnificent hotel. Wu clenched his teeth and chased after him. Open a room. Tang Jing said to the front desk of the hotel. Wu caught up and added, he's paying the bill. Hey, you're staying in a hotel, why do you want me to pay? Tang Jing rolled his eyes. Wu said openly, I don't have money. You don't have money when you're outside? Yes. Wu snatched a room card first. Why is it that your martial sect and Li Palace both have the same character? Li Xiaotian also likes to eat for free and so do you? Tang Jing could not help but complain. Marshall glared at him and remained silent. Tang Jing was helpless as he did not lack the money. He took out the room card and the two of them walked side by side towards the elevator. They could still hear the whispers behind them. Almost everyone was talking about how beautiful and tall Marshall was. Especially that pair of long legs, it was simply the most perfect gift from the heavens. Crack. The door to the guest room opened and just as Tang Jing entered, Wu walked in first. He sat down on a chair and asked solemnly, Where are you going next? Return to Chongqing City. He was not in a hurry to go back to school. Now that his identity had been exposed, he did not know if ordinary balances people would be affected. Moreover, he had been separated from his grandfather for so long, he wanted to go back and take a look. I'll go too. Wu said without hesitation. Let's go then. Tang Jing shrugged indifferently. When are you leaving? Tomorrow. In addition, contact Li Xiaotian of the Li Palace. I have something to ask her, Tang Jing said. Why did you contact her? Of course there's something. Currently it was unknown whether the demon god was alive or dead in Mount Buzhou, and it was unknown whether Louis of the Rockefeller family was alive or dead. Tang Jing had no choice but to carefully approach Louis. The Rockefeller family even knew about a heaven-defying array like the Mountain River blood sacrifice, so they definitely could not be underestimated. Therefore, they needed the Li Palace to gather information about Louis and the Rockefeller family. Wu looked at him deeply and nodded. Alright, I will pass the message to her. In the dead of night, the two of them had already returned to their respective rooms to rest. Tang Jing used the hotel's landline to call Fang Shishir. After not contacting her for so long, he did not know how she was doing overseas alone. When Fang Shishir heard Tang Jing's voice, she was extremely excited. The two of them spoke a lot of sweet nothings on the phone, and Tang Jing also confirmed that she was not in danger. However, Tang Jing reckoned that after Louis escaped from Mount Buzhou, he would not continue to stay in Wuxia and would definitely return to the Atlantic Empire as soon as possible. Thus, Tang Jing reminded Fang Shishir to pay more attention to Louis's movements and to be careful. After hanging up the phone, he dialed his grandfather's number. The old man was in a good mood as if nothing had happened. It was said that his recycle bin business was booming, helping many of his old friends. Tang Jing heaved a sigh of relief. Although his identity had been exposed, the people around him had not been affected. This could be considered a blessing in disguise. Moreover, his identity as a cultivator was only circulated in a very small circle, and not everyone knew about it. After tidying up his mood, Tang Jing laid on the bed and fell into a deep sleep. In the middle of the night he suddenly opened his eyes. His black eyes looked at the ceiling, then he slowly turned his head and stared at the door. Xiao Bai, who was lying on the bed, also woke up. He pricked up his ears and stared at the door without blinking. The door quietly opened and a ray of light shone in from outside the door. A tall figure could clearly be seen standing outside the door. This person entered the room in a flash and the door quietly closed. A sword, like a venomous snake, stabbed towards Tang Jing, who was on the bed. The flames exploded as Little White took the initiative to counterattack. The flames instantly lit up the entire room. The person who came used an iron plank bridge and somersaulted in the air, dodging the blazing flames. However, with the help of the flames, both sides saw each other's faces clearly. Tang Jing exclaimed, "Long Shenyuan." After saying that, he had already turned on the bedside lamp and dispelled the darkness. The person in front of him was Long Shenyuan. His white beard was burnt by the fire and curled up, emitting a burnt smell. He looked a little embarrassed. Although his spirit was still hale and hearty, there was a mixture of pain and anger between his brows. Long Xuanyuan's eyes were like a pair of copper bells. He gritted his teeth and looked at Tang Jing and growled, "Tang Jing, you killed my son, I will take revenge for Tingyu." Tang Jing got out of bed and did not deny it. "Long Tingyu was indeed killed by me. Back then, Long Tingyu was in cahoots with the demon god. Moreover, he and Long Tingyu were already mortal enemies, so he killed him." Seeing that Tang Jing did not deny it, Long Shenyuan said, "At least you have some guts and did not deny it. Otherwise, even if you die, I will look down on you. You might not be able to kill me." Tang Jing said casually. Long Shenyuan was a second-stage Great Master, but speaking of which, although Tang Jing was only a fifth-stage Great Master, he had the heaven-shocking bow and the remaining 6 shooting sun arrows, as well as the 4 symbols venerable, so it was not difficult for him to protect his life in front of Long Shenyuan. Long Shenyuan did not think so. "Although you are a cultivator, you are still young, how powerful can you be?" Boasting shamelessly. "Old Master Long, you are Nana's grandfather, I do not want to be enemies with you," Tang Jing said. "Don't mention Nana, you don't have the qualifications to mention her," Long Shenyuan shouted. The soundproofing of the hotel was good enough, so he did not have to worry about being heard by the next door. Tang Jing laughed in ridicule. "That's not right, you are the one who did not fulfill your duty as a grandfather. Nana and her Nana were expelled from the Long family, but you just let it go and did not ask about it. It is really disappointing." "Nonsense, I trusted Mu Hongyan so much, but she colluded with the people of the island nation and betrayed the interests of the family. In my life, I love the people of the island nation the most. She knowingly committed a crime, how can the Long family tolerate her?" Long Shenyuan said righteously. "Ah, what a joke." Tang Jing laughed. "Old Master Long, it seems that you are really too old. You are actually so muddle-headed, your eyes have been completely blinded." "What did you say?" "I said you are old and muddle-headed." Tang Jing scolded in pain. Long Xuanyuan's face turned ashen and said, "No matter how eloquent your mouth is, you will not believe you." "Is that so? Then do you trust your precious son Long Tingyu that much? Since you keep saying that you hate the people of the island nation, then do you know that the one who really colluded with the people of the island nation is not Mu Hongyan, but you, Long Tingyu?" "Tingyu? No, how could he do such a thing? Although he is a bit of a playboy, he is deeply righteous and knows the principles of right and wrong. It is absolutely impossible for him to collude with the people of the island nation." Long Shenyuan shook his head fiercely, refusing to believe it. "When I killed him, there was an island nation person beside him called Sawada Ichiro. He was the one who colluded with Long Tingyu and was willing to become the servant of the demon god. This is not just empty talk, you can investigate it. I believe that the demon god and Sawada Ichiro have stayed in Long Tingyu's villa for so many days, there will always be some clues." Seeing that Tang Jing spoke in a frank manner without the slightest intention of hiding anything, Long Tingyu was startled. This was definitely not something he wanted to see, and the pain between his brows became even more intense. "I will naturally investigate which one of you is right or wrong. I will remind you that the person who assassinated Wang Fuchuan was the cold-faced killer Xiao Xiaoling, and after Mu Hongyan and Nana went to the capital, Long Tingyu sent Xiao Xiaoling to assassinate this pair of mother and daughter. As long as you find Xiao Xiaoling, you will naturally know whether I am lying or not," Tang Jing said. "Is this Xiao Xiaoling again?" Long Shenyuan had been looking for the whereabouts of Xiao Xiaoling for a long time, but there was no clue. "However, I will naturally do this matter later. Now let's deal with the matter between us first. At that time, I promised you to keep your identity a secret, and I did it. I even forced Tingyu to swear that he would not reveal your identity as a cultivator." When Tang Jing heard this, he sighed in his heart. This Long Shenyuan was indeed a person who kept his promise, and had indeed fulfilled his promise. "But Tingyu died in your hands, so today I will take revenge for him. I will no longer care about your identity as a cultivator. Moreover, there are already many people in the world who know your identity. Therefore today I must give Tingyu an explanation, kill you and take revenge for him." After saying that, Long Xuanyuan's body emitted a strong battle intent, and his killing intent soared. Tang Jing's entire body trembled. He knew that this battle was unavoidable and said, "Long Tingyu has done countless bad things, I have let him go time and time again, but he did not repent, so I do not regret killing him. Since you want revenge, then come. Chapter 435. Swish. With a shake of the long sword, specks of sword light filled the room. Long Xuanyuan's sword technique was fast and accurate. Long Xinyuan shouted, "This is my Long family's Xinyuan sword technique, I'll let you try its power." Tang Jing squinted his eyes and loosened his fingers. With a whoosh, the shooting sun arrow shot out straight towards the sword beams. Crackle. The sword beams instantly turned into specks of light and shattered. The shooting sun arrow shot into the wall, and the arrow feathers continued to tremble. What a powerful bow! Long Xinyuan praised and rushed straight in, the tip of the sword reaching Tang Jing's forehead. Tang Jing raised his heaven-shocking bow. Clang! The tip of the sword pierced the heaven-shocking bow, causing the sword to bend. Tang Jing used the rebound force to fly backwards, and in mid-air he pulled the bowstring again. Boom! The shooting sun arrow left the line and Long Xinyuan rolled in the air. The shooting sun arrow brushed past his body and shot into the wall. Boom! This time, the wall could no longer withstand the powerful force and collapsed with a loud bang, turning into a pile of bricks. The guests who were still on the bed next door were immediately woken up in fright. They screamed as they looked at the collapsed wall beside them with disbelief. Murder! The two guests only had time to grab the bedsheets to cover their private parts before they ran out the door like their lives depended on it. The screams broke the silence of the night. The guests on this floor all opened their doors to check on the situation, and the intense sounds of fighting finally woke them up as if they had just woken up from a dream. They ran downstairs with all their might. Boom! There was also a large hole in the wall in the corridor. Two figures flew out from the hole and started fighting fiercely in the corridor. Wherever the two of them passed, the luxurious hotel turned into ruins. Smoke and dust rose in all directions and it was a complete mess. These guests only dared to take a look from afar before they hurriedly rushed down the stairs. The hotel security also noticed the situation and rushed up, but they stood at the entrance of the stairs, not daring to go forward. Just looking at a battle of this level was enough to make one's mind sway, and they had the urge to turn around and run away. The entire hotel was in an uproar. All the guests received the notice and rushed out of the hotel. Many people kept shouting murder. However, Tang Jing and Long Xinyuan acted as if they didn't see it and continued to fight. Tang Jing couldn't help but sigh. Long Xinyuan was indeed worthy of being the master of a large family, his martial arts were truly superb. Tang Jing's cultivation was at the second level of the supreme power realm, but he was not afraid. Instead he was in high spirits. There were not many opportunities to fight with such a master. With the help of the heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrows, his strength had increased by a few levels, and he had even caused Long Xinyuan to be in danger a few times. Long Xuanyuan's expression became unprecedentedly solemn. The last time Tang Jing came to Dianan, he was sure that he could easily defeat Tang Jing, but at this moment he had no such advantage at all. How did your strength increase so much in just a few short months? Is this the magic of cultivators? Long Xinyuan asked. Tang Jing shook his head. Of course not, Nana's father was also a cultivator, can his strength increase so quickly? Long Xinyuan was silent. Of course Nana's father's cultivation did not increase so quickly, in fact it was very slow. This is because of different opportunities, the results are naturally different. Tang Jing explained. Long Xinyuan snorted coldly, so what, I still want to kill you and avenge you. The sword light suddenly burst out, covering the lights in the corridor, and the walls on both sides trembled violently. The long sword pointed forward and the air billowed, and the bricks on both sides of the wall quickly flew up, covering the sky and covering the earth as they shot towards Tang Jing. In front of him, Long Xuanyuan's figure was completely blocked, Tang Jing's pupils constricted. His palm drew a circle in front of him, and a cloud of black smoke flew up, transforming into a shield. This was the transformation of the dragon-trapped rope. Back then, when the elder of the demon race used the dragon-trapped rope, he had changed the shape of the dragon-trapped rope. One moment it was a rope, the next moment it was a shield. This time, Tang Jing had refined the dragon-trapped rope again, and had completely figured out the location of the trapped dragon, so it was especially easy to use. Bang bang bang. The sword-like bricks all hit the shield, Tang Jing hid behind the shield and was not injured at all. Suddenly Tang Jing felt a sharp aura coming from behind the bricks, his heart moved, and guessed that Long Xuanyuan's second round of attacks had arrived. He released the dragon-trapped rope and used the imperial sword technique, allowing the dragon-trapped rope to float in front of him, blocking all the attacks, while his hands had already drawn the bow. Clang. With the sound of metal and stone hitting each other, the shield trembled violently. Obviously, Long Xuanyuan's sword had already hit the shield, but it did not penetrate the shield in an instant. What kind of weapon is this? Seeing that the shield had blocked his attack, the wrinkles on Long Xuanyuan's forehead deepened, and he exerted all his strength. Dragon-trapped rope change? Suddenly Tang Jing roared, and the shield suddenly disappeared, turning into a snake-like rope, quickly flying past Long Xuanyuan. Long Xuanyuan had accumulated all his strength, but his sword actually missed. His body uncontrollably staggered forward and he was extremely shocked. However, what made him even more frightened was the scene behind the shield. Tang Jing had drawn his bow and arrow, and was like a god, aiming at him. At this moment, Long Xuanyuan's body was out of balance, and Tang Jing immediately released the bowstring. The shooting sun arrow turned into a cold light and shot over. Long Xuanyuan reacted quickly, roaring, holding the sword with both hands, he stabilized his body and slashed the shooting sun arrow. Clang. The shooting sun arrow flew upwards and directly pierced through the roof. Long Xuanyuan heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, he was experienced, otherwise he would have been shot by the arrow and his old life would have ended here. Of course, Tang Jing knew that he could block this attack. This was something he had calculated long ago, so there was not the slightest bit of regret between his brows. Instead, the corner of his mouth revealed a trace of pride. Long Xuanyuan just happened to see this expression, and his heart skipped a beat. He had an ominous premonition. Suddenly, something climbed onto his body, binding his arms in an instant, then his legs. Almost in the blink of an eye, he was tied up like a dumpling, unable to move. What's going on? Long Xuanyuan turned pale with fright. Suddenly, he came to a realization and remembered the rope that brushed past him. It's that rope. Tang Jing kept the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrow and laughed. Smart, this is the dragon-trapped rope. Once you are trapped by it, you will never be able to move again. Long Xuanyuan's eyes instantly dimmed, and in a blink of an eye, he seemed to have aged more than 10 years and said, I never thought that I, a dignified grandmaster, would lose to a brat like you. Tang Jing said truthfully, it is impossible for me to defeat you. This time it was completely because I was caught off guard that I took the initiative. Humph, victory is victory, defeat is defeat, there is no reason to talk about it. Long Xuanyuan said openly and disapprovingly. Tang Jing admired him. This Long Xuanyuan and Long Tingyu were two completely different extremes. He really doubted how he could give birth to such a son. Perhaps a loving mother had lost a son. Long Tingyu's personality was like his mother's. My skills are inferior, I was unable to avenge Tingyu, I admit it, you can kill me. Long Xuanyuan raised his neck and said fearlessly. I don't want to kill you. Tang Jing said. Humph, don't be hypocritical. You killed Tingyu so you don't mind killing me. Long Xuanyuan mocked. Tang Jing let out a long sigh. Old Master Long, I do not have any conflicts of interest with you. Moreover, Nanan and I are like old friends at first sight. You are her grandfather, so I have no reason to kill you. If you don't kill me then I will kill you. Long Xuanyuan said stubbornly. Tang Jing laughed bitterly. Old Master Long, you are old, don't be confused, what I said is true. Long Tingyu is the one who betrayed the Long family, everything that happened to him is his own fault, you should investigate clearly, otherwise if he tarnishes your reputation, how will the world look at you, at the Long family? I am free to decide, I don't need you to teach me a lesson. If you want to kill me, then do as you please. Long Xuanyuan stared with his big eyes, stubbornly insisting. Long Xuanyuan, what Tang Jing said is true, Long Tingyu is indeed not a good person, colluding with the demon clan and the island nation. Marshall walked out from somewhere and said in a deep voice. Who are you? Why should I believe you? Long Xuanyuan's pupils constricted, he stared at Marshall, but was not attracted by her beauty, but her cultivation. Long Xuanyuan could clearly see that she was a third-grade innate stage cultivator. It was not easy to have such a cultivation at such a young age. Her background was definitely not ordinary. My name is Marshall, I am from the Marshall sect. Marshall said indifferently. Marshall sect. Long Xuanyuan was dumbstruck. To the few big families, the three big organizations were the most powerful and mysterious existences. Although they had a large family business, they did not dare to go against the three organizations, and usually even kept a respectful distance from them. But this self-proclaimed Marshall sect said such words, Long Xinyuan had no choice but to re-examine this matter. He could not believe Tang Zheng's words, but he could not doubt the words of the martial sect. Moreover, didn't the martial sect hate cultivators the most? Of course he wouldn't speak up for Tang Zheng, which meant that all of this was true. Long Xuanyuan's expression became even more gloomy, because the faith in his heart was already wavering. Marshal looked at Long Xinyuan and said, Long Xinyuan, from today onwards, don't think about assassinating Tang Zheng, because the Long family will not be able to bear the consequences. You're saying that the martial sect wants to protect Tang Zheng? Isn't the martial sect specifically targeting cultivators? Long Xinyuan found it hard to believe. Marshal coldly snorted and said, This is not something you should know anyway. I have already warned you, take care of yourself. In front of Tang Zheng, Marshal's arrogance was restrained, but in front of others, the arrogance in her bones was vividly displayed. Long Xuanyuan's heart was in a mess. All of this was too unexpected. For a moment he looked at Tang Zheng blankly, his expression fluctuating. Chapter 436. Tang Zheng and Wu left Dianan overnight, not because they were afraid of Long Xinyuan, but because there was no point in staying in Dianan anymore. As for the mess in the hotel with Long Xuanyuan's power, there naturally wouldn't be any trouble. In ordinary balance, the streets were the same as before, and the pedestrians were the same as usual. However, when Tang Zheng and Wu walked out of the station, they discovered something strange. Originally, the train station was a place where crooks and honest people mixed together. There were many swindlers, but when Tang Zheng looked around, he didn't see any traces of swindlers or pickpockets. There were only the hurried figures of passengers. Tang Zheng nodded his head in relief. This meant that under the governance of Lin Hu, Fire Phoenix and the others, the security in ordinary balance was much better. However, he didn't know that the government had spent a lot of effort on the security of ordinary balance. Now, ordinary balance was a forbidden area for swindlers and pickpockets. As long as they dared to come to ordinary balance, they would definitely be beaten up. Furthermore, the pickpocket would have their fingers chopped off. It was definitely a bloody punishment. Because of this, the security in ordinary balance had improved a lot in the past few months. Ordinary people felt that it was much safer to travel, and things like robbery and theft were basically completely eradicated. However, the nearby counties and cities had suffered a lot. Many criminals had entered, causing the local officials to be quite distressed. The two of them took a taxi to Shangfeng Shangshui district, only to find that there were people sneakily watching them from outside a street. Tang Zheng frowned. This was his grandfather's residence. Someone dared to sneak around here. Could it be that they had some ulterior motives? Tang Zheng's face darkened as he turned around and walked towards the few people. The few of them looked at Tang Zheng and Marshal, who had walked in front of them, in shock. Who are you people? Tang Zheng asked sternly. Who are you? You're a stranger. You're not a resident here, right? The other party was not afraid at all and asked arrogantly. You guys are sneaking around here. Do you have some ulterior motive? Tang Zheng went straight to the point. You have no right to ask. Let me tell you, why don't you go and ask around? Ordinary balance is Brotherhood's territory, and this is a forbidden area. If anyone with bad intentions dares to come here and do bad things, you can come in standing and leave lying down. The other party said with a fierce look. Tang Zheng paused for a moment, then grinned and asked, Are you Lin Hu's men? You've got guts, daring to call Brother Hu by his name. Are you guys sent by Lin Hu to protect Tang Dahai? Tang Zheng asked. How did you know? The other party was taken aback. The smile on Tang Zheng's face grew wider as he said, Thank you for your hard work. The few of them were confused. They really didn't know why the other party had changed so much. However, they heard Tang Zheng say, Go and tell Lin Hu that Tang Zheng has returned. After saying that, he turned around and walked into the neighborhood. Tang Zheng. This name is so familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere before. The few of them scratched their heads. Suddenly, someone came to a realization and shouted, Isn't that Big Brother Dragonhead's name? Yes, that's Big Brother Dragonhead's name. Big Brother Dragonhead is back. Quickly go and tell Brother Hu and Sister Phoenix. The few of them were excited as they looked at Tang Zheng's back. Their eyes were fervent, as if they were fans who saw their favorite celebrity. Licking their lips, one of them said, I really saw Big Brother Dragonhead. His aura is indeed extraordinary. Of course, Big Brother Dragonhead rules over the entire Chongqing city's underworld and eats both the black and white. In the past, those who have seen Big Brother Dragonhead would often brag about him. This time we have finally seen Big Brother Dragonhead in person. In the future we can brag about it to others. Those little brats will definitely be jealous to death. Yes, I never thought that we would have such an honor. This mission is really profitable. Tang Zheng and Marshall had already walked far away, but they could clearly hear their conversation. Marshall curled her lips and ridiculed, I never thought that you would have such high prestige in ordinary balance. Now that you've come to my territory, don't have any bad ideas. Otherwise I won't be polite. Tang Zheng said with a smile. Marshall snorted. Just as she was about to retort, she heard the few of them say enviously, as expected of Big Brother Dragonhead. This girl is so hot. She's both tall and beautiful. She's 100 times more beautiful than those celebrities on TV. Of course. Otherwise, how could she be worthy of Big Brother Dragonhead? Marshall's eyebrows shot up. She was about to turn around but was pulled back by Tang Zheng. What are you doing? Nonsense. I'm going to kill them. Marshall said with killing intent. They are my little brothers. I won't allow you to do that. Humph, but they said such hooligan words. Marshall said angrily. Tang Zheng mischievously smiled and said, the two of us have already had skin contact. It doesn't seem wrong to say that you are my woman. You're absolutely wrong. Marshall opened his eyes wide. The reason I saved you back then was because the sect master gave me such an order. I don't have a good impression of you at all. Tang Zheng resentfully rubbed his nose and laughed involuntarily. Am I really that annoying? Marshall looked at him seriously and said righteously, you're really annoying. After saying that, he walked forward with large strides. Hey, wait a minute. Tang Zheng hurriedly called out. Marshall did not even turn his head as he angrily walked forward. You're going in the wrong direction. My house is in this building. Tang Zheng kindly reminded him. Marshall staggered and almost fell down. He suddenly turned around and said snappily, why didn't you say so earlier? I clearly told you to wait but you didn't listen. Tang Zheng explained. Marshall blushed and glared at him. Lead the way. With Tang Zheng in front and Marshall at the back, he went upstairs and opened the door. The house was empty and his grandfather was not home. Everything was as before, clean and tidy. A soft singing voice came from a room. Although the voice was deliberately suppressed, how could it escape the ears of these two experts? Marshall asked in surprise, you're still hiding a beauty in a golden house? There's a woman in the house? Tang Zheng had a bitter face. Where was the woman? This singing voice could not be more familiar. It was the voice of the ginseng Ling. She never thought that she would still like to sing. She must have been educated by Tang Zheng before, so she could only secretly sing in a low voice to avoid being discovered by others. Seeing Tang Zheng's strange expression, Marshall became interested. As if he had discovered a new continent, he rushed towards the direction of the singing voice and said, I want to see what kind of woman she is. When she barged into Tang Zheng's bedroom, she found that it was empty and the singing stopped abruptly. Tang Zheng hurriedly chased after him. Just at this time he heard the voice again. Master, you're finally back. You came back to see Linger. Linger missed you so much. On the balcony the ginseng shook its leaves. It was extremely excited, as if it wanted to break free from the shackles of the flower pot and throw itself into Tang Zheng's embrace. Master, Linger misses you, Linger misses you. Linger was like a repeater saying it over and over again. The leaves shook even more happily. Hearing this clear and sweet voice, Marshall was sure that she was not hallucinating. She looked around and her expression became strange. In the end, following the voice, she finally locked onto the ginseng. Marshall was 100% sure that the voice was coming from the ginseng. She pointed at Linger in a daze and asked, your family's grass can talk? Linger is not grass, Linger is ginseng. Linger unhappily corrected. Ginseng, it has become a spirit. Marshall opened her mouth wide in shock. Tang Zheng shrugged. Since she already knew his identity and had seen so many demonic beasts, it was not a big deal to see a ginseng that had become a spirit. Thus he nodded his head. Was Xiaobai, who was on Tang Zheng's shoulder, jumped onto the balcony and sniffed Linger's body. Linger was so scared that she cried out pitifully, Master, Linger is very obedient. Tell it not to eat me. Xiaobai, be good. Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped him. Linger was very afraid of Xiaobai, and it was the same last time. Xiaobai pouted and strolled back to the bedroom. It rubbed against Tang Zheng's feet and then lazily jumped onto the bed. Marshall rubbed her forehead. Fortunately, her nerves were thick enough. She took a deep breath and asked, what else in your family has become a spirit? Tell me together. Don't be so scared. Tang Jing laughed. You will be scared too, this doesn't seem like your style. Anyone would be scared, but since your ginseng has become a spirit, its medicinal effects must be very good. Marshall asked. What are you doing? Don't tell me you want to eat Ling Er? No, master, you can't let her eat Ling Er. Ling Er begged for mercy. Tang Jing laughed and comforted. Ling Er, don't worry, no one can eat you. Thank you, master. Ling Er is very obedient. Master, when Ling Er blossoms, she can transform into a human's body. At that time no one will eat Ling Er. Ling Er said with anticipation. Bloom? When will you bloom? I don't think it will take long. Then I look forward to that day. Marshall blankly listened to the conversation between the two and said, she can transform into a human? Of course, as long as demons reach a certain level, they can transform into humans. This is an ability bestowed upon us by the heavens. Ling Er said proudly. Marshall smacked her lips. This seemed to be beyond her understanding. Tang Jing did not want to dwell on this topic and asked, Ling Er, where's grandfather? Grandpa went to work. Then you continue to stay at home, I'll go find grandpa. Master, will you be back later? Ling Er asked timidly. Of course I'm back. Ling Er's voice immediately became cheerful. Master is great. Ling Er will wait for Master to come back. Ling Er has a lot to say to Master. The two of them left the house. Marshall looked at Tang Jing with a strange expression and asked, why are you adopting so many demons? You don't have good intentions. Tang Jing rolled his eyes and said, you're a martial artist, you wouldn't understand even if I told you. If you don't say it, how do you know I don't understand? Marshall said, unwilling to give up. Tang Jing shrugged his shoulders, stopped a car and drove straight to the junkyard. Looking at the familiar city, Tang Jing couldn't help but sigh. Although he had only left for a few months, it was as if he had left for a long time. Chapter 437. Tang Jing saw the waste acquisition station from afar. The size of the acquisition station had doubled, and it was obvious that business had been very good these past few months. In fact, it was hard for the business of the acquisition station not to be good, because Tang Dahai was not doing it to earn money, but to help his old friends. The price was fair and many people were willing to sell the waste to him. In addition, with Lin Hu's protection, no one would dare to come and cause trouble. Tang Dahai had all the advantages he needed. Wu stretched his neck, took a look and frowned. This generation was dirty and messy, and there was a complicated smell in the air. Tang Jing, on the other hand, was already used to it. Instead, he was familiar with it as he strode towards the acquisition station. Wu followed closely behind. In this place, it was impossible for such a handsome man and beautiful woman to come, so the two of them instantly attracted a large number of gazes. Many people pointed at them, guessing who the two of them were. Before they could reach the door, a few people came out from the corner and blocked their path. Tang Jing smiled slightly, guessing that these people were definitely sent by Lin Hu to protect his grandfather, so he said gently, I am Tang Jing. At this time, an old man walked out of the acquisition station. When he saw Tang Jing, he was obviously stunned, but then he was overjoyed. He turned his head and shouted into the acquisition station, Old Tang, come out quickly, your grandson Little Zheng is back. Little Zheng, coming quickly. When the lackeys saw this, they immediately realized who was standing in front of them. They all took a step back and looked at him fervently, Big Brother Dragon Head. Tang Jing nodded his head in approval and walked into the acquisition station. The acquisition station's courtyard was very big, and it was filled with a small mountain of waste. Many people were busy sorting the waste. At this moment, a person walked out of the house. It was Tang Dahai. Tang Jing quickened his steps and walked in front of his grandfather. He found that his complexion was even better than when he left, and his wrinkles had decreased by a lot. Grandfather, I'm back. Tang Jing held his grandfather's hand and said excitedly. Tang Dahai was also very excited, but he complained, Why did I come back? Didn't I say on the phone that I was very good? I told you to go to school well. Tang Jing smiled faintly. I came out to do something, so I came back to see you on the way. It won't affect my studies. Really? Really? Tang Dahai heaved a sigh of relief, revealing an expression of relief. Old Tang, your grandson brought his girlfriend back to see you, and you're still complaining. You really don't know what's good for you. Little Zheng, don't look at how he is acting like nothing has happened. He often talks about you in front of us. Our ears are already worn out. The other elders joked. Tang Dahai smiled embarrassedly and said, Don't let these old guys talk nonsense. His gaze swept across and landed on Marshall, unable to hide the surprise between his brows. He thought to himself, why did it change? Wasn't little Zheng's girlfriend that girl from the Fong family? Which family's girl was this tall and big girl? Could she really be little Zheng's new girlfriend? That won't do. That girl from the Fong family was not bad. How could she do something that would let him down? He definitely had to persuade little Zheng that he had to live up to his own conscience. Tang Dehai thought for a long time, but revealed a kind smile and asked, Little Zheng, who is this girl? Ah, of course it's your granddaughter-in-law. Someone jeered. Marshall's cheeks were slightly red. She did not know why, but recently her face was red more than in the past few decades. She could not help but regret following them. Was there something wrong with these people's heads? How could they all think in that direction? Just a friend, temporarily staying in ordinary balance for a few. Tang Jing calmly said. Tang Dehai heaved a sigh of relief, but the others were greatly disappointed. They whispered that such a beautiful girl, if only little Zheng could bring her into the family. Marshall wished she could immediately turn around and leave. Little Zheng, since you're back, we'll go back first. I'll go buy some groceries and cook. You old friends, I'll leave this place to you. Tang Dehai said. Ah, okay, old Tang, let's go back. The few of them walked out of the depot and saw a cloud of dust from afar. A few cars were speeding over. Tang Jing slightly narrowed his eyes, already guessing who had come. The car stopped in front of them. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix led a group of little brothers out of the car. They excitedly looked at Tang Zheng and shouted, Young Master Tang, you're back. The other little brothers lined up neatly like soldiers lined up for inspection. They bowed towards Tang Zheng and shouted in unison, Big Brother Dragon Head. Tang Zheng calmly nodded his head and said, Why are you putting on such a big show? Fire Phoenix rushed to say, Young Master Tang, this is all because the brothers were too excited and wanted to see you too much. Tang Zheng did not blame them. He quietly observed Tang Dehai and found that his expression was normal. The old man seemed to have completely accepted Tang Zheng's identity. Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief and said, Let's get in the car first. There are so many people here, let's not stand here and block their way. Tang Zheng helped his grandfather get into a luxurious business car. Marshall also got in the car. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix looked at each other, confused. They recognized Marshall. This woman was from the Marshall organization. How could she be with young Master Tang? Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix also got into the business car. The motorcade slowly started moving. Tang Dehai, who had been silent all this time, said, These past few months they have done well. Everyone says that ordinary balance's public security is much better than before. There are fewer people doing bad things and the people are living and working in peace. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were overjoyed. Even if they said 100 words, they would not be able to compare to the old man's praise. This praise was enough to make them feel that their efforts in the past few months were not in vain. However, the two still humbly said, Thank you, old man, for your praise. In fact, there are still many areas where our work is not up to par. In the future we will continue to work hard. Tang Dehai said in a deep voice, In the past, I did not approve of little Zheng hanging out with you. But after seeing your actions, it shows that you are not bad people in your bones. You have also done many good things. So in the future, I will not interfere with your matters. Tang Zheng was extremely gratified as he gave Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix a look of praise. The two felt comfortable as if they had suddenly drank a cup of ice water during the dog days of June, feeling refreshed from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet. Young Master Tang, we have already prepared a welcome banquet for you. Director Mu has also rushed over directly from the company. Lin Hu said. Tang Jing looked at his grandfather. The old man nodded his head and said, Since you have prepared it, then don't waste it. Let's go together. Lin Hu smiled as if relieved of a heavy burden. He gave a thumbs up and said, The old man's words are very true. We must not waste it. Ordinary Balance Landmark Building. The motorcade quietly stopped at the entrance. This landmark building had a 5-star hotel and a very luxurious restaurant. The banquet was booked here. Dozens of people clustered around these few people. This formation was obviously too luxurious. Moreover, those with discerning eyes could tell that the dozens of underlings were most likely people of the underworld. They all started to guess who exactly these few people in the middle were. Only these people's clothes were too different. The young man and woman's temperament was not ordinary. Especially the woman. Many people had never seen such a tall woman. Her pair of long legs were simply too eye-catching. Of course, the old man was also very eye-catching. His clothes were very simple. It was clear that they were old clothes from many years ago. He was protected like a national treasure. It was really strange. This strange team took the elevator directly to the restaurant. The restaurant was magnificent, but there was not a single diner. This was because the entire floor had been booked. Young Master Tang, let's go to the private room. It's quiet and convenient to talk. The others are in the hall. Lin Hu introduced. Tang Jing nodded his head. The few of them went to the private room. This private room was very luxurious. Tang Dahai secretly sighed. He thought that this meal was definitely not cheap. However, the old man was an open-minded person and did not interfere. Before his but even warmed up, the private room's door was pushed open. A beautiful figure walked in and said, Tang Jing, you're finally back. Big Sister Mu, long time no see. Tang Jing greeted, it's been hard on Big Sister Mu. Mu Hongyan specially came to Ordinary Balance to integrate the businesses under Tang Jing. She was mainly responsible for building the company and legalizing these businesses. This kind of overall planning could only be done by a strong woman like Mu Hongyan in the business world. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were both lacking. Young Master Tang, Boss Mu has indeed worked hard. Otherwise, Fire Phoenix and I would definitely be at a loss. Lin Hu took the opportunity to praise. Without your help, I would also be at a loss. Mu Hongyan said truthfully. Eat first. We won't talk about work today. Tang Jing waved his hand and set the tone. Ah, good, let's eat. Tonight's theme is to welcome young Master Tang. Eat and drink well. The table was full of delicacies. Because Tang Dahai had taken the life-continuing pill, his body was much better than before. His appetite was also good. He ate many things that he had never eaten before. Furthermore, he drank a few glasses of wine, causing his face to become rosy. The old man also gradually relaxed and frequently clinked glasses with others. Wu was also forced to drink a few glasses of wine, but alcohol was child's play to her. Her expression was normal. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix accompanied Tang Jing to the hall and said a few words, letting the little brothers outside see the style of the leader, winning waves of applause. In the past, Tang Jing tried his best to keep a low profile, but today he no longer kept a low profile. Even if he appeared with the identity of the leader of the Ordinary Balance, no one would find trouble with him because of this matter. As night fell and the banquet ended, Tang Jing arranged for Wu to stay in the hotel upstairs and then accompanied the old man home alone. The grandfather and grandson pair slowly walked downstairs. As the night wind blew, the drunkenness weakened a bit. Tang Jing supported the old man. The old man looked at him with gratification and said, Little Zheng, grandfather has to admit that you made the right decision to take these people under your command. Not only is it a good thing for you, but it is also a good thing for others. You must remember that you must continue to work hard in the future to make these people do good things and not do evil. Tang Jing obviously understood the old man's thoughts and nodded seriously. Grandfather, don't worry, I will definitely do this. Chapter 438. The next day in a huge office, Tang Jing, Mu Hongyan, Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix gathered together. Marshall could only watch from afar through the transparent glass wall. This was an extremely important meeting, so Tang Jing naturally would not allow Marshall to attend. The few of them would occasionally glance at Ming Wu, as they were unable to see through him. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were especially wary of Ming Wu. However, since Tang Jing said that it was not a big problem, they would not object. Listening to the reports of the few people, Tang Jing already had a rough idea of the businesses under his name. After the integration, these businesses were divided into 3 large areas: real estate, clubhouse and hotel. However, real estate was a small company while clubhouses were the mainstay. There were big and small hotels, but there were no 5-star hotels. According to Mu Hongyan's suggestion, these 3 areas would be deeply excavated and developed. Now that the real estate market was booming, Wuxia had a large population, and the demand for housing was huge, so they could not give up on real estate and had to make it bigger and stronger. The entertainment clubhouses also had to be reorganized, because although this industry was the mainstay, it was extremely messy. There were dozens of large and small clubhouses, each with a chaotic market position, and urgently needed to be sorted out, find their market position and cover the different levels of customers. If the hotel scale was too small, it would not be beneficial to increase its reputation. It could be combined with the small-scale hotels to form a chain hotel, which would be beneficial to the brand's marketing. In addition, Mu Hongyan also suggested building a 5-star hotel. The country's economy was developed, and the people's needs were more diverse. To many people they did not lack money, and this group of people's money was the easiest to earn, so building a 5-star hotel was imperative. Looking at so many suggestions and plans, Tang Jing sighed. It was true that there were specializations in the industry, letting him do these things he was directly at a loss while Mu Hongyan succeeded smoothly. She was indeed a talent, no wonder she could control such a large business like the Long family. He had really picked up a treasure. Seeing Tang Jing lowering his head and not saying anything, Mu Hongyan asked nervously, "Tang Jing, what do you think? Do you have any other opinions or suggestions? Bring it up and I'll amend it right away." Tang Jing smiled. Just as he was about to say that he had no objections, he suddenly thought of a place, Ordinary Balance's courtyard. When he went to the Ordinary Balance courtyard, he had a very deep impression of it. Even with his current insight, the Ordinary Balance courtyard was extraordinarily extraordinary. It was no wonder that so many celebrities and officials of the Ordinary Balance courtyard flocked to it. This Ordinary Balance courtyard was the property of the Song family in Ordinary Balance, and it was doing very well. Tang Jing's relationship with the Song family was not good. Since the Song family opened such an Ordinary Balance courtyard in his territory, Tang Jing naturally could not watch him make a lot of money. "Do you know about the Ordinary Balance villa?" Tang Jing asked. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix nodded. "Of course we know. This courtyard is not in the city, but its standards are very high. Many rich people go there to spend money, and it is said that it has everything. It is even better than the heaven on earth in the capital." "How come I have never heard of it?" Mu Hongyan said with surprise. "Chief Mu has not been in Ordinary Balance for long, and you are also obsessed with work. It is normal that you do not know." Fire Phoenix comforted her. Mu Hongyan said with shame, "This is my dereliction of duty. I did not do my job well." Tang Jing waved his hand indicating that Mu Hongyan did not need to blame herself and said, "I went to the Ordinary Balance courtyard once, and the level of consumption there is more than one level higher than our club. Since we want to improve the quality of our club, then we must move towards the goal of defeating the Ordinary Balance courtyard." Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were quite excited when they heard this and said, "Young Master Tang, what you mean is that we must get rid of the Ordinary Balance courtyard?" Tang Jing nodded. "We must use normal business competition to defeat our opponents, and make the Song family scram from Ordinary Balance." "Good, make the Song family scram." Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix no longer feared the large families, and they were more willing to believe that Tang Jing could create miracles. Others were afraid of the large families but they were not. Mu Hongyan's eyebrows relaxed and said, "Oh, since you have made your decision, then we will follow this method. This is the Ordinary Balance and not the Song family's sphere of influence. They are far beyond their reach, and even if we defeat them, they will not be able to make any big waves." "Haha, Big Sister Mu is really domineering." Tang Jing gave a thumbs up. What he needed right now was this kind of talent that could look down on the world. So what if they were large families? As long as they worked hard, they would still be able to defeat them and trample them beneath their feet. "As for real estate and hotels, I don't know anything about them. You can discuss this matter, I believe in you." Tang Jing waved his hand, and directly became a shopkeeper who did not do anything. "Tang Jing, expanding the scale is indeed a top priority, but the most important point is that we do not have the money." Mu Hongyan hesitated for a moment before saying, "No money?" Tang Jing was shocked. He looked at Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix, and the two lowered their heads in shame and said, "Young Master Tang, it's all our fault." You can't blame them. Although this stall looks very big, there are many places where money is needed, so naturally the profits are not much. The other key point is that this plan requires a large amount of money, and it is not something that this stall can support. Mu Hongyan explained. Now that the security in Ordinary Balance City had improved, and Tang Jing's income compared to when Huang Si was in charge of Ordinary Balance City was lacking the income from drugs. This was the biggest source of income, so there was a shortage of funds. Tang Jing pondered for a moment and thought of this point. This was his rule, so he could not blame Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix. Of course he did not regret his decision. Since he lacked money, then he would think of a way to get it. "You guys do your best and summarize how much money we are lacking. I will think of a way to solve this shortfall." Tang Jing waved his hand and said boldly. Several people's eyes lit up and they praised, "I knew young Master Tang would have a way." Mu Hongyan looked at him curiously, not knowing where he would get the money. This was not a shortfall of a few million, but an astronomical figure for ordinary people. However, since the boss was so confident, the employees were naturally happy. After discussing a few more things, Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix walked out, leaving only Mu Hongyan in the office. Seeing that she wanted to say something but hesitated, Tang Jing asked curiously, "Sister Mu, if there's anything you want to say, we don't have to be so estranged." Mu Hongyan took a deep breath and asked, "You killed Long Tingyu?" After all, Mu Hongyan came from the Long family, so such important news could not be hidden from her ears. Tang Jing's expression instantly became serious. "Yes." Mu Hongyan's heart thumped and she asked hesitantly, "Are you doing this for me and Nana?" Tang Jing was stunned. When he made his move, he was in a hurry and did not think so much. Perhaps it was because of the mother and daughter. Tang Jing squeezed out a smile and said, "Don't think too much about it. This kind of person who doesn't even let his own niece off is not worthy of living in this world." Even though he said that, Mu Hongyan was even more certain that Tang Jing did this for her and Nana, and her heart couldn't help but feel waves of warmth. Ever since her husband passed away, no one had ever cared so much about them. She was very clear about the consequences of killing Long Tingyu, especially for someone who didn't have much of a foundation. "Then aren't you in big trouble for us?" This. Mu Hongyan was at a loss for words. Her eyes were red and she was about to cry. Tang Jing was shocked and immediately comforted her. "Sister Mu, don't be like this, I'm fine, this isn't a big problem, it's just a small matter." "If this is a small matter, then what is a big matter? You don't have to comfort me, I understand." Mu Hongyan wiped the corner of her eyes and said. Looking at her delicate and pitiful appearance, she didn't have the appearance of a strong woman just now. It made people's hearts beat faster, and a tear fell from the corner of her eye. Seeing that, Tang Jing reached out his finger and gently caressed her cheek, wiping away the tear. Mu Hongyan's entire body trembled. This kind of intimate action made her extremely shy. It was not good to retreat, nor was it good to enter. For a moment she was stunned on the spot. Tang Jing cursed in his heart, he was too frivolous, and quickly retracted his hand without leaving a trace, saying, "Sister Mu, this problem has been solved. Long Shenyuan has already found me and was prepared to take revenge for Long Tingyu, but he did not succeed, and I told him that Long Tingyu colluded with the island nation to frame you, and even tried to assassinate you and Nana. He should investigate thoroughly. You don't have to comfort me." How could Mu Hongyan believe that Tang Jing was Long Xuanyuan's opponent? Mu Hongyan was not a martial artist, but her knowledge was extraordinary. In her heart, Long Shenyuan was like a god of war, invincible. Tang Jing was so young, how could he be his opponent? Although he said it so easily, he must have suffered a great loss at Long Xuanyuan's hands. The more he downplayed it, the more uncomfortable Mu Hongyan felt. She thought to herself, "He treats me so well, how should I repay him in the future?" "All right, Sister Mu, then I won't disturb you anymore. I still have to think of a way for money. I originally thought that I was a rich man, but I didn't expect that I was a loser, haha." Tang Jing joked. Mu Hongyan squeezed out a smile and said, "It's already very rare for you to have such achievements at your age. You didn't start from scratch, you're much stronger than those aristocratic children." "Then I'll thank you for your praise, Sister Mu. In the future I'll leave the business matters to you." Mu Hongyan nodded seriously. "Don't worry, I will do my best to turn your business into a real business empire." "With your words I'm relieved." Tang Jing waved his hand and walked out of the office. Marshall looked at him with a strange expression and teased, "Taking advantage of a woman again, humph, men are fickle." Tang Jing was speechless. How did he take advantage of her? He was too lazy to care about her. Right now, he had to think of a way to get money, and a large amount of money at that. Chapter 439. Tang Jing, why haven't you returned to the capital yet? After causing such a big mess, do you still have beauties to accompany you every day? Yi Dingdong's voice was filled with anger. Tang Jing quickly moved the phone away and waited for her to finish venting before asking, "Ding Ding, what happened? Why are you so angry? Your identity as a cultivator has been exposed, do you think it's a big deal? Do you know how big of a storm this matter has caused in the capital?" Yi Dingdang asked curiously. "I'm not in the capital, how big of a storm can there be?" Tang Jing disagreed. "But you are the son-in-law of the Ye family." Yi Dingdang blurted out in a moment of desperation, but she suddenly realized something and immediately shut her mouth. Tang Jing's face flashed with a mischievous look, but he understood what she meant. In the eyes of outsiders, his relationship with the Ye family was not shallow. With his identity as a cultivator exposed, The Ye family would naturally be the first to bear the brunt and be affected. This was also where Tang Zheng was not considerate, so he asked, "What exactly is the situation? I can't explain it clearly in a few words. Immediately, get the hell back to the capital right now. Also, stay away from that marshal by your side. The people of the martial organization are not good people. Don't be confused by beauty and forget your direction." With a pa sound, the phone was hung up. Tang Jing thought back to Yi Dingdong's words and touched his nose. He thought to himself, why does it sound sour? Which little lover called again? Marshal asked with a sneer. Tang Jing shrugged and said, am I really that promiscuous? Isn't that so? As far as I know, you have a few women by your side and none of them are ordinary people. Marshal said directly. That's right, you really aren't an ordinary person. Tang Jing said sincerely. The meaning of this sentence was that Marshal was also his woman. Marshal raised her eyebrows and said angrily, you're taking advantage of me again. Didn't you say that yourself? Marshal coldly snorted and turned her head. She couldn't beat him in a fight, so she could only pretend that she didn't hear him. Tang Jing teased enough and said, we'll return to the capital immediately. After bidding farewell to Lin Hu and the others, he found his grandfather and chatted for a while. Tang Jing brought Xiao Bai and Linger on a plane to the capital. This time, it was Linger specially asked him to bring her along. It was as if she felt that she was about to bloom, so of course she hoped that Tang Zheng would witness that moment. Tang Zheng was also looking forward to it, so he agreed. Tang Zheng's estites. However, when the two of them walked out of the airport, a nimble figure rushed over and threw herself into Tang Zheng's embrace. Big brother, you're finally back. Nana missed you so much. Nana said excitedly with a pink face. Tang Jing picked her up, holding the flower pot in one hand and Nana in the other, and strode towards a luxury car in the distance. Yi Dingdang was leaning against the car door, frowning as she stared at the few of them. Her bright eyes kept sweeping over Marshall's body, and her brows tightened even more. Tang Jing gave Yi Dingdang a smile that he thought was brilliant and said, don't frown, look at the wrinkles. Wrinkles? Where did I get the wrinkles? Yi Dingdang subconsciously touched her cheek. Humph, you dare to tease me, you really live a carefree life. In an instant she realized that she had been played. Her expression became even more stern and she snappily asked, didn't you go to southern Yunnan for archaeology? How come so many things happened again? Tang Jing shrugged and said, the weather is unpredictable and people are unpredictable. This is not something I can control. I think you're just lying to me. What archaeology? You've created such a big storm. Am I not worthy of your trust? You disappeared for so long without leaving any news. If it wasn't for my dad having some sources of information in the ordinary balance, he wouldn't have known that you ran to the ordinary balance. The more Yi Dingdang spoke, the more agitated she became. It was obvious that she was furious. Tang Zheng looked at her in astonishment. In a trance, she seemed to have returned to her high school appearance as a big sister, domineering and overbearing. Although her words were sharp, the concern she revealed was real. Tang Zheng was not angry. Instead, he felt warm in his heart. While speaking, Yi Dingdong's eyes flashed with a sparkling light. This period of time was indeed the most difficult for her to endure. She and the Ye family did not expect that Tang Zheng would cause such a huge commotion when he went to southern Yunnan. First, he killed Long Tingyu, which immediately caused a huge uproar, causing all the great families in the capital to be shocked. This was the rhythm of turning the sky upside down. The Ye family was ostracized and malevolent from all sides. Many people speculated that since Tang Zheng was the son-in-law of the Ye family, the anger of the Long family would definitely be completely poured out on the Ye family. However, the Ye family was not affected. Long Xianyuan seemed to have swallowed his anger, which made others feel that it was inconceivable. Just when everyone was surprised, another bomb exploded. Tang Zheng was actually a cultivator, which was even more shocking than him killing Long Tingyu. After all, killing Long Tingyu was only related to the Long family, but the identity of a cultivator was contrary to the entire world. Furthermore, he was viewed as a thorn in the flesh by the martial sect. None of the great families dared to go against the martial sect. If they were to get involved with a cultivator, a great family could face a disaster. Many people immediately began to gloat, hoping that the Ye family would be dragged down and destroyed. The undercurrents in the capital were surging. Many of the forces that were originally biased towards the Ye family had changed sides. The Ye family was besieged on all sides, and the situation was not optimistic. There was also an intense debate within the Ye family, which was divided into two sides. One side supported Tang Jing and believed that at this critical moment, Tang Jing should be behind him, providing him with a strong backing. After all, Tang Jing had done the Ye family a great favor. The representative of this side was Yi Dingdong's family of 3. The other side insisted on distancing themselves from Tang Jing and not being dragged into the quagmire to preserve the strength of the Ye family. This was the opinion of the majority of the Ye family, and the representative was Yi Dingdong's uncle. The head of the Ye family, Yi Xuanji, did not express his opinion, but he also did not make a decision. Therefore, the Ye family was currently in a foul atmosphere and everyone was in a state of panic. Yi Dingdong's family of 3 was under great pressure. Many people accused them of causing the Ye family to suffer a calamity. They would be the sinners of the Ye family. Yi Dingdang would be met with supercilious looks when she returned to the Ye family's mansion, especially her cousin, who was even more outspoken and criticized her face to face. If not for Yi Dingdong's strong personality, she would have already collapsed in such an environment. But the reason why she was angry was not because of the criticism and neglect, but because she was worried about Tang Jing's safety. What if he was killed by the martial organization? She did not dare to imagine the consequences. She was already used to his existence. Although Tang Jing had angered her to the point of madness many times, she still cared about him from the bottom of her heart. Now that she saw him safe and sound, all the emotions in her heart surged out. Of course, the other thing that made her flip out was that she was actually together with Marshall. Could it be that he had gone crazy? Did he not remember how fierce this woman was? Back then, Marshall almost killed the two of them. Brother, Sister Dingdang has been very worried about you during this period of time. She has been talking about you and even called your name when she was sleeping at night. Nana pursed her lips and said seriously, Nana. Yi Dingdong's anger instantly disappeared like a deflated balloon when she heard these words. She became very embarrassed. Nana clearly did not understand Yi Dingdong's meaning. Instead, she seemed to have received encouragement as she spoke even more energetically. Sister Dingdang often has nightmares. She says not to hurt Tang Jing and if there's anything just come at her. Later on she even cried. Nana, don't say any more. Yi Dingdang finally could not hold back and loudly stopped her. Nana looked at her blankly, thinking that Nana was speaking the truth. Her mother had always taught Nana to be an honest child, otherwise her nose would grow long like Pinocchio. Tang Jing's emotions fluctuated as he gently put down Nana, then put down the flower pot and looked at Yi Dingdang seriously. Yi Dingdang had never been looked at like this by him before. She could not help but feel flustered as she asked, What are you doing? Tang Jing did not say anything. He opened his arms and suddenly hugged Yi Dingdang tightly in his embrace. Yi Dingdang was instantly stunned. There was only one feeling in her heart. His embrace was so warm and his chest was so broad. She suddenly had the urge to cry. Why did she pay so much? Wasn't it all for such an embrace? With such a hug, everything she had done was worth it. She could not help but stretch out her hands and wrap them around Tang Jing's waist. For the first time in her life, she quietly enjoyed this warmth. Nana stared with her big round eyes as she curiously watched this scene. The passers-by also cast sidelong glances. The combination of a handsome man and a beautiful woman was especially eye-catching no matter where they went. Marshall remained calm and expressionless as if this scene had nothing to do with her. Is shameful. Mother said I can't watch a boy and a girl hugging together. Nana suddenly covered her eyes and shyly said. Tang Jing laughed out loud. What's wrong with that? It's not like it's something shameful. Get in the car. I'll deal with you when we get back. Yi Dingdang glared at him. Her tone was like a wife talking to her husband, causing one's imagination to run wild. Tang Jing chuckled and carried Nana into the car. Marshall did not say a word and also wanted to get in the car. Suddenly Yi Dingdang frowned and shouted, Stop! You're not allowed to get in the car. Marshall stopped and looked at Yi Dingdang with a cold face. Yi Dingdang was not afraid at all. She stretched her neck and stared back at her without blinking and said, This is my car. You're not welcome. Back then in ordinary balance, Marshall was so overbearing. She directly killed her way into the Ye family, captured Yi Dingdang's parents, and even chased after Yi Dingdang and Tang Jing. If not for their good luck, the two of them would have already died at her hands. How could this grudge be resolved so easily? Tang Jing instantly guessed Yi Dingdang's thoughts. Moreover, Yi Dingdang was in such a hurry to call him back. There must be a lot of secret talks to follow, so it was not convenient for him to let Marshall stay by his side. Thus he said to Marshall, Find a place to stay. If there's anything, contact me. Marshall looked at him in astonishment. After confirming that he was not joking, she coldly snorted and left without saying a word. Right now she was begging to stay by Tang Zheng's side. Of course she did not dare to disobey Tang Zheng's wishes. Moreover, she did not have the ability to force Tang Zheng. She could only silently endure. Yi Dingdang looked at Marshall's back in disbelief and said, "Why is she so obedient?" Tang Zheng shrugged and said, "She is my captive. So what if she doesn't listen?" Captive? Yi Dingdang's eyes lit up as if she had discovered a new continent. It's a long story. Let's talk about it when we get back. Chapter 440. The Yi family mansion was still the same big courtyard that was quiet amidst the chaos. As soon as the carriage stopped, Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang quickly walked over to welcome them. "Tang Zheng." Yi Tianlei called out in a deep voice. Tang Zheng nodded and greeted, "Uncle Yi." Feng Xinyang sized up Tang Zheng with her pair of beautiful eyes, as if there were flowers on his body. She clicked her tongue and praised, "Little handsome brother, I really misjudged you. You really hid your strength well." Tang Zheng said, "Aunt Feng, I'm really sorry. I hid it from you." Feng Xinyang smiled without thinking. "If it was me, I wouldn't tell anyone either. After all, this is a matter of life and death. It's just that," she turned her head and glanced at Yi Dingdang and continued, "it's just that our family's girl also helped you hide it from us. It's really true that girls side with outsiders. When a girl is of age, she can't be kept at home." Feng Xinyang. Yi Dingdang heard this and blushed. She glared at Feng Xinyang. Feng Xinyang laughed tenderly, "Little handsome brother, you see I was right. This girl has a one-track mind. In her heart, we are not as important as you." And Feng is joking. "Dingdang is very respectful to you two elders," Tang Jing said. "Is that so? It's enough for this girl to have this kind of thought. However, in my entire life I have never seen a cultivator before. To think that such a famous cultivator would be by my side. This is truly an eye-opener. Let me take a closer look and see what is so different about him." Feng Xinyang said. "You don't say. The aura on your body has changed a lot. I can't see through you anymore. Your current cultivation is equivalent to a warrior? This?" Tang Jing hesitated for a moment and said truthfully, "5th grade innate stage." "What? 5th grade innate realm?" Feng Xinyang opened her eyes wide in astonishment. She had also just broken through the threshold of the 2nd grade innate stage not long ago, and Yi Tianlei was still lingering around the 1st grade innate stage. She never thought that in the blink of an eye Tang Zheng would leave them far behind. They clearly remembered that when they first met Tang Zheng, he was still a brat who had just entered the school. His speed was comparable to sitting on a rocket. Yi Tianlei looked ashamed. He shook his head and said, "The younger generation will surpass us in time. Tang Zheng, you really surprised us." "It's more than just a big surprise, this is simply a miracle. What's the 4 childs of the capital? I think they're not even fit to carry the shoes of this little handsome guy." Feng Xinyang's face was smiling like a flower, and she praised without restraint. Yi Dingdang's eyes lit up. In the past she had wanted to compete with Tang Zheng, but now she realized that the gap between the two of them was getting bigger and bigger. However, at this moment she was not depressed. On the contrary, she was happy. She was happy for Tang Zheng. This was the unparalleled hero in her heart. Yi Dingdang had worked very hard in her cultivation of the Jade Women's Heart Sutra. After Tian Chanzi's breakthrough, she had broken through to the 2nd stage of the post-celestial stage. She had also used the time when Tang Zheng had gone to South Yunnan to advance by leaps and bounds. It had to be known that one of the 4 childs of the capital, Chu Xiaofeng, was only at the 2nd stage of the post-celestial stage, but Yi Dingdang had already surpassed him. Furthermore, she had advanced by leaps and bounds in such a short period of time. This news had already spread throughout the capital's circle. Everyone knew that the Ye family had produced such a genius in martial arts. Yi Xuanji placed more and more importance on this granddaughter of his, and a lot of resources were given to her. This made the eldest daughter of the Ye family, Yi Meiyu, even more dissatisfied. Yi Meiyu and Yi Dingdang had already engaged in a war of words several times, and their relationship was very stiff. Yi Dingdang looked at Tang Zheng in a daze and said, "Now that there is a new 4 childs of the capital, isn't Tang Zheng the leader of the 4 childs? It's fine if you don't want the title of a silk pants. You still need to practice and do things steadily. Yi Tianlei warned, hurry up and go in. The others are waiting anxiously. So what if they wait for a while? Feng Xinyang curled his lips, disapproving. All of them have the attitude of a punitive expedition, as if someone owes them something. Yi Tianlei shook his head and said, Tang Jing, later on if there is anything, we will definitely take care of it for you. Tang Jing felt warmth in his heart and said, Uncle Yi, my identity is very troublesome, right? Yi Tianlei squeezed out a smile and said, no matter how big the trouble is, we can still work together to solve it. Feng Xinyang said hurriedly, little handsome brother, others are afraid of your identity, afraid of getting into trouble, but I, Feng Xinyang, am not afraid, I just dare to do what others do not dare to do. Moreover, so what if you're a cultivator? You are my, Feng Xinyang's, future son-in-law. Whoever wants to deal with you must first pass through me, Feng Xinyang. Feng Xinyang was valiant and heroic. Such powerful words made Tang Jing feel incomparably moved. In fact, he was very clear about the trouble that could arise if his identity was exposed. Feng Xinyang and Yi Tianlei were also very clear about it, but the two still stood behind him without any complaints. This kind of support and trust was hard to describe. In the car, Tang Jing had already heard Yi Dingdang talk about the problems that the Ye family might encounter this time. At this moment, the Ye family's mansion was gathered with the core members of the Ye family. The Ye family had a large business, with Yi Xuanji's bloodline as the leader, but there were also other people with the surname Yi, although they were not as powerful as Yi Xuanji, but they had the right to speak in the Ye family's affairs. This time, the Ye family held a family meeting in order to explore the Ye family's attitude towards Tang Jing, so that the Ye family could avoid risks and win benefits. Tang Jing, my uncle Yi Tianming has returned to the capital. Those people all listened to him. This time he took the initiative to let the Ye family cut ties with you. You must pay attention later. Yi Dingdang put away her smile and reminded him in a low voice with a sullen face. Yi Tianming, that's Yi Ku and Yi Meiyu's father? Yes, some time ago he was abroad discussing business and just came back not long ago. It is said that his business abroad was not finished yet, so he rushed back without stopping. I don't think he has any good intentions. Yi Dingdang curled her lips and said unhappily. Dingdang, don't talk nonsense. Yi Tianlei's expression sank as he warned. Dingdang, we are not afraid. What tricks do they have up their sleeves? If soldiers come, we will block them. If water comes, we will use earth to block it. We are not afraid. Don't be like your father, acting like a block of wood. If they want to bully us, it won't be that easy. Yi Tianlei shook his head and did not speak. As they entered the mansion, Tang Jing clearly felt that the atmosphere was much more dignified, and he felt that there were many eyes peeping at him in the dark. His heart moved. This was probably the Ye family guarding against him. After all, he was getting more and more out of control, like a bomb that could explode at any time. He didn't care, and strode with the three of them to the entrance of the huge meeting hall. The noise in the hall stopped abruptly and everyone's eyes were attracted. Tang Jing narrowed his eyes slightly and saw the situation in the hall clearly. Yi Xuanji was sitting in the middle with a few old men sitting next to him, and another middle-aged man sitting next to him. This middle-aged man was somewhat similar to Yi Xuanji's. Tang Jing recognized at a glance that this must be Yi Xuanji's eldest son Yi Tianming. Yi Tianming had thick eyebrows and big eyes and was silent. He was completely different from the others who were chattering non-stop. His calmness was somewhat similar to Yi Xuanji's. Sure enough, a tiger father does not have a dog son. In addition, Tang Jing clearly felt that this person was already an innate martial artist, and his cultivation was higher than Yi Tianlei's. Moreover, the others looked at Yi Tianming with awe. Obviously, his prestige in the Ye family was quite high. There were a total of more than 10 people sitting in the hall. Yi Ku and Yi Meiyu were among them. The two of them whispered to each other. When Tang Jing and the others appeared, their gazes were all attracted. Yi Meiyu did not hide the schadenfreude in her heart, while Yi Ku nodded towards Tang Jing, while the others stared at Tang Jing with scrutinizing and vigilant eyes. Yi Xuanji's turbid old eyes lit up as he stared at Tang Jing. His heart was filled with mixed feelings, and at this moment he suddenly realized, no wonder the other party could possess such a heaven-defying item like the life-continuing pill at such a young age. It turned out that he was a mysterious cultivator. At this moment, Yi Xuanji was hesitant and had yet to make a decision, because this decision was related to the survival of the Ye family. It was too important. Take a seat. Yi Xuanji shouted, and a person hurriedly brought a chair and deliberately placed it in the middle of the hall. Tang Jing, please. Tang Jing's expression did not change. He walked straight over and sat in the middle of the hall under everyone's gaze, like an abyss, like a prison as calm as Mount Tai, completely ignoring the strange gazes and the oppressive atmosphere from all directions. Yi Tianlei's family of 3 also took their seats. The hall was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Tang Jing, are you a cultivator? Yi Xuanji asked directly. Although there was no suspense in this question, he still had to ask it himself. Tang Jing said without batting an eyelid, yes. But discussions broke out as many people whispered to each other. Quiet, noisy, what kind of scandal is this? Yi Xuanji shouted angrily. Everyone immediately fell silent, but their eyes could no longer leave Tang Jing, as if they really wanted to see what was different about him. You're a cultivator, that means you're a martial artist's enemy. Yi Xuanji said after pondering for a while. Tang Jing laughed softly and said, so you're saying, you've made such a big scene because you want to take my life here today? Killing intent burst out in the hall. Yi Dingdong's face became pale. Just as she was about to stand up, she was pulled back by Feng Xinyang and said in a low voice, calm down. Yi Dingdang was extremely anxious and continued to watch. Killing a cultivator is not the responsibility of the Ye family, but the responsibility of the martial organization, Yi Xuanji said. In reality, normal families had never come into contact with Xiuzhi before, so they didn't have any deep hatred for them. I thought that all the martial artists in the world hated cultivators. Tang Jing said with a playful smile. I have no enmity with you, why would I hate you? But cultivators are after all a different species, they are not welcomed and many people in the capital want to kill you. Yi Xuanji said bluntly. As long as you have the ability, you can come and take my head. Tang Jing pointed at his own head, looked around and said without fear. Many people looked at his eyes and lowered their heads. Tang Jing's eyes were too sharp, showing off his ability, causing people's hearts to jump, not daring to look straight at him. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.